We're live. We're live.
Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican police service lobby. I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
Is that correct?
Literally not true.
Sorry guys. Things are happening. Give me a second here. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. It looks like we're coming back to court early. I'm not sure why, but here we are anyway. Oops, there we go. Can't kill the music yet. Party's not over. All right. As the court has a little bit of action going on. We haven't started yet, but they turned the cameras on, so I said, we've got to be here. It's happening. Things is happening. All right. Welcome to Kim R. Well, that's sample user. How about Kim R? Kim R was first in chat. She beat me here. I don't know how she did it. Congratulations, Kim. The internet is all yours. You are a habitual offender when it comes to owning the internet, so I'm sure we're in capable hands. Couple things going on today. First of all, I am more excited about this cross-examination this afternoon than I've been about any in quite a while. But we're about to continue the cross-examination. I think we've got about half an hour, honestly. I think, or 20 minutes or so. I don't know. We might have longer. I thought we weren't going to come back for a while at least. I don't think this is supposed to be live right now. I think they made a boo-boo. Let's see, where's my mouse? Which mouse are we on? We're on 8. Okay. All right, they made a boo-boo. Meanwhile, while they're talking and continuing to converse, I wanted to share a couple things. I did run to the post office, and I've got a couple pictures. You know what? Let me do this. Let me steal the iPad feed. That's our counter. Hopefully I don't break it here. Yeah, I broke it. Okay, we're going to... Tech is hard. There we go. All right, I have to turn it on. Do not disturb. Let's see if I've got a camera here. Maybe. Okay, we've got some pictures. Give me just 1 second. All right, there we go. All right, so now we're ready. While they're still talking in court, I'm going to show you. I went to the post office and let's see, where's it? Camera 6. And thank you very much. We got a cat fountain in the. Well, Kiki got a cat fountain, and I set it down. And this was about a second and a half after I set it down, and I proceeded to take.
We'll argue the other one in open.
Ooh, they're not supposed to hit that either. They're not live. Tried to take a bunch of pictures, and of course, Kiki doing what Kiki's doing. As soon as he saw me, I got that shot. That's about it. Anyway, so Kiki loves it. Kiki loves the water fountain, and it takes, I think we put 6 bottles of Deer Park water in it, and it worked. And then I thought I wanted to show you what happened to my phone, a telephone pole outside, and just how bad it is. And so I went and took a picture of the telephone pole that got hit by the truck. And normally, just for the record, telephone poles are normally straight. They don't normally bend where this one bends. Where is that mouse coming from? Oh, that's camera 3. No. I don't know where that mouse is coming from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 6? Yeah, it's 6. Okay. I found the mouse. I found the right computer. Right up here above the silver box, just this is normally straight up and down. So I took some pictures. Oh, I have to back up. Yes, did it the wrong order. We got a new stop sign. They installed a new stop sign because the wooden one was broken, but then I looked closer at how they installed it. They just zip tied it to the old post and called it good. I guess that's how things go in small towns. So we're hoping that this pole does not collapse. Hey, there's my house. Don't hit my house. We're hoping it doesn't collapse, but it's in a bad way. The whole bottom is not connected. It's broken in there. There's major holes. Anyway, that's where we are. So we'll go back to court here. I thought I'd share that with you. Now you guys, you're all the wiser, I guess. I have to fix the counter. All right, the counter is back up and running. So we're good. Kiki loves the water fountain. Just absolutely loves it. So, all right. I love the house. I love it as well. It's just a old home that is a money pit. We have dumped it needs so many repairs. It's not funny. But at the same time, it's good. That is the new government standard way of doing things. They didn't even clip the zip ties off. They just left like an extra foot of plastic. I'm surprised they didn't just go with the duct tape, but that saved them having to dig a hole. Last poet, I'll say this much: the house was designed to be beautiful. It's falling apart. I have to replace a lot of all the columns on my deck. I have to replace all the columns, and the deck above the columns, I have to replace that too. It's a lot. Pole dancing with power lines is not good. Thank you, Philip. I'll put that in my note of things to remember. Let's see. I have a fountain, but I always have to change the filter. Yes, this one has a filter as well. I'm going to make sure we change that one out. Here, I think, we don't get to see this side of court very often when they pan across there. Not sure who everybody is. The bow tie looks amazing. The bow tie makes the guy at front look sort of like a slacker, even though he's wearing a suit. There's no tie there. He's media. I know that. I can see that from his badge. All right. Virginia, let us know. I had to work, so I just got here. What have I missed? If you caught this morning, you didn't really miss anything. But otherwise, let's see. There's a little bit. Let's see if we can switch to camera 2. Is 2 on?
We can't begin without the defendant, please.
All right.
I don't think it's not appropriate.
Alex.
We can't begin without the defendant.
Your Honor, do you have a preference? Do you want the
Well, I would say, given the documents, I agree with you. Given the documents.
Yeah.
Given the documents, I agree he should be here. I know you can waive, but this is part of the trial, and he should be here for this document in particular.
Stated
Yes.
Mexico versus Alec Baldwin, and we have.
In which we make these arguments. Do you want the defense to go first about
thank
why
you.
they
We have,
redacted, or do you want me to go first about why I like it? We can't begin without the defendant.
Okay, we're
please.
backing up to get all of this.
It's not appropriate.
Okay, so defendant's going to be brought in. If you can find paging Alec Baldwin, please come to the courtroom.
Your Honor, do you have a preference? Do you want the
Well, I would say, given the documents, I agree with you. Given the documents. Given the documents.
Something
I
big
agree
is
he
going
should
on.
be here. I know you can waive, but this is part of the trial, and he should be here for this document in particular. Yes?
Understood. Do you have a preference about the order, the manner in which we make these arguments? Do you want the defense to go first about why they want them redacted, or do you want me to go first about why I want them in?
Well, they are going to be your exhibits, so you should go first.
Okay.
Wow. The defense is going to argue for redaction. We're waiting for the judge to grab her pink water bottle and take a drink. There we go. Knew it was going to happen. Okay. We don't know what these documents are. There's an argument. There must be new documents of some sort. But this is late in the day to argue about redactions. We are just coming back from lunch. It was supposed to be 2 hours. They started early. The judge said, "Don't come back till 2. Don't come back till 2." Well, it's not 2 yet. Mr. Baldwin's like, "What's going on? Why are we here right now?" Let me get the spectrometer going. Let's see. Here we go. The glasses are on right now.
Sure.
They're getting rid of the whiteboard. Tic-tac-toe is over for the day. This is outside the presence of the jury. I do wonder what his reaction to this is going to be. Doc, all we know from what we've overheard is that
Which one do you want to start with?
Prosecution
You want to start with the 21st?
Yes.
wants to bring something in. Defense wants it redacted. Are these phone records? Are they emails? What? Where did this come in?
Okay. This dialogue here that takes place between pages 2 and 5. You have heard the defense attorneys on appropriate questioning of the witnesses, and also during opening statements talk about how upset Mr. Baldwin was, that he was upset, that he was panicked, that he was ashen. He was even ashen in color. What pages 2 through 5 demonstrate, and I want to tell you, let me make one correction.
May I ask something?
Sure.
The highlighted is the portion that you want redacted.
That is correct.
Okay, well, I only see, oh, got the wrong one in front of me. Okay, all right, sorry, I transposed them. Okay, go ahead.
And let me find this part. Hang on just a second.
Thank you.
From what I know of this prosecutor, she has the attitude about her right now of a
Okay,
gotcha
so
moment.
if I to help make my point, if we go down to the last paragraph of page 4, you'll see where Mr. Baldwin is speaking to someone on the phone, and he says, and just spend the time here, and they're going to do what they've got to deal with. He's talking about, I think, investigators and also insurance investigators, and deal with what they've got to deal with. And we shouldn't let, we'll go have, it'll work, and we'll go. And I believe what he says, and I can play it if you need me to, because you can actually hear it on the audio, even though the transcript says indiscernible. We'll go have a good time. So these are not, at this point in time when Mr. Baldwin is making this statement, he's at the police station. He does not know that Ms. Hutchins has passed, but he knows that she's been critically injured, and she's so injured that she's been taken away in a helicopter. And if the defense hasn't spent all of this time saying, how panicked and upset he was, I'm not sure that it would be relevant, but he is actually planning basically a vacation, and he tells his family, still come to New Mexico, we'll have a good time. So this is obviously information that directly contradicts what the defense has argued. And if it would help the court to see his demeanor and hear what he actually says, his family was coming to New Mexico the following day because he had a bit part for his daughter in the movie. So his wife and all of his children were coming the following day, and he is telling at one point, I think he's speaking to his wife, and he has her on FaceTime so we can actually hear her. We can hear her responses. And then he's speaking to another person who sounds like some sort of a family assistant or a nanny or someone like that. And he is explaining that he wants that person to try to convince his wife to still come to New Mexico because they can't get their money back for the plane tickets, and they'd like to go ahead and have a good time.
Where's the thing about the plane tickets? I didn't read that.
So here's where he says it. There's a part here where he says they're not going to give us our money back.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
That's what he's referring to.
Okay.
So
are you talking about lines 19 through 25 on page 4? You object to the redaction on just this portion?
On what page, I'm sorry?
Well, you said 2 to 5, and then you pointed out a particular portion within 2 to 5.
Overall, my position is this is the defendant's statement, and it comes in. And I don't see a reason that it stays out. And the reason specifically that a lot of this conversation comes in is because of the defense statements about his state of mind, and this directly contradicts those.
All right, you're going to come back up here.
Yes, Your Honor.
No?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, I want you to go over there.
Can I leave these here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, first, what we have within this section that we're going to be discussing right now is we have also some additional hearsay. So we're looking at not only Mr. Baldwin's statements, but it also includes statements from the female speaker who would be his wife. And then and we see female speaker 1, there's also female speaker 2. So there's additional hearsay aside from, again, the statements that we're talking about with respect to Mr. Baldwin. In addition, when we're looking at whether or not this is admissible, the court has to engage in a balancing test as to what the probative value actually is. The court has already indicated and ruled, in fact, at the motions in limine, that Mr. Baldwin's demeanor, even leading up to the accident, was not going to be coming in because the court engaged in that balancing test and said, for example, anything regarding him exhibiting poor behavior.
Way broad brushing, my rule.
Understood, Your Honor. And so I have actually the court's ruling here, so I'll be more specific. So what it says is that any of the videos or any evidence or pictures which relate to Mr. Baldwin not handling or that goes to the defendant's gun that worked or didn't work, and they're showing that it did work because he's shooting. There's videos showing that he's cocking the gun, and it says that those would come in. However, everything else regarding him yelling at the crew or telling people to hurry up, none of that is relevant, and that is propensity evidence.
Right, and that dealt with what was offered, okay?
That is correct.
Was not offered. This was not even discussed at that time. So
Correct.
This is fresh to the court.
Absolutely, Your Honor. So what we're doing is we're looking at what the court had previously ruled, and then we're using that also to inform the arguments that we're making at this time. And so certainly when we're talking about state of mind for after the fact, that becomes even less relevant than state of mind or actions that were happening leading up to the accident. So when we're looking at what this is actually probative of, the state is saying it's probative of that he's, talking about he's going to go have a good time. He's really not that distraught about it. But if we look again at what is Mr. Baldwin's state of mind after this has happened, what element does that go to within the proof that the state has to demonstrate in order to meet the elements to demonstrate that he is actually guilty of involuntary manslaughter? And the answer is that none of this here is probative of any effect of consequence to any of the elements of the crime that he is charged with. So when the court is engaging in this balancing test, we have to look to see what is the probative value, and there's none or very minimal, but the danger of unfair prejudice is substantial, and it substantially outweighs any probative value in that, again, he's talking about his family, he's talking about plans that they have, and there's danger that the jury will misinterpret that or misuse that to view him as being callous or that he doesn't care about Ms. Hutchins, when actually that's not accurate. So we are asking the court that the court exclude this section that we're referring to.
I agree that it's more
in addition, Your Honor,
let
me go over to page 5. If the court will look at the top of page 5, here again, this is just more, them trying to make him look callous. He's worried about, at the top, he's talking about staying away from people.
Over your shoulder.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
Glasses off. Glasses on.
I just want it because mine's under yours, so
Understood.
I can't see where you are. Okay.
So, Your Honor, so what we're talking about here up at the top of the page is, again, he's worried about being photographed. He does live a very public life, and this is a very, difficult, sensitive time just in general for everyone. And the references to the media here, again, could be taken as something callous or something of that sort. And so, he's talking about, this is breaking news, this is media, and he's trying to keep his family away from that as well. So it's misleading, and when we engage in a 403 balancing test, this should not come in.
Normally, I would agree, but for the fact that the defense actually made his demeanor after the fact relevant. So now that they've made it relevant, it's relevant, and it goes both ways.
All right, thank you. The court makes the following ruling. Under 11-401, it says it has any tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence and the factors of consequence in determining the action. It is not only the issue of whether he committed the crime of involuntary manslaughter, it's also a relevant fact. And you all made that fact very important through Officer LaFleur yesterday. So I do find that it's relevant to basically respond to you all talking about how upset Mr. Baldwin was, and certainly that you considered that fact of consequence, and I'm deciding that this rebuttal information is of consequence. So I also find that its probative value is not substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice and all the other choices that are under 11-403. I will say that I think that I'm not going to let everything in. I'm going to focus on page 4, and I'll start with line 16 and on page 4, and I will go to page 5.
And I'm sorry, is this what's coming in or what's staying out?
No, it's coming in. The rest of the yellow is staying out.
Can you repeat that line
Just
again?
a minute, I'm reading page 5.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so it's line 16, starting with Alec Baldwin, finishes the rest of the page 4, starts on page 5 at the top, and finishes on line 10. The rest of the yellow will be redacted.
Understood. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
The next one I show, and Ms. LeBlanc, just correct me if I'm wrong, is on page 12.
That's correct.
So this issue goes directly to Mr. Baldwin's state of mind, and I'm looking, Your Honor, I'm sorry, at basically 12 through 14. He understands that whether there's a live round on set or not, these guns can be dangerous, and he says it right here between 12 and 14. What he's talking about with the wadding can come out. If you're closer, you can get a burn. That's him talking about his knowledge of the danger of these guns. That goes directly to the heart of the state's case.
Midtone Dad, welcome to the gallery.
As the court knows, the state doesn't disagree with 15 through 17. And again, when we start here on 18, where Mr. Baldwin says, "I'm told," that again goes directly to his knowledge of the injuries that can occur if these guns are not handled with safety. He says right there, "I'm told even with the flash powder, you can cause contusions and you can do a brain bleed and die." And you know what? We can take out this part here that says which both of them died, because that is relevant to the Brandon Lee, John Eric Hexum that we agreed to remove. So I don't oppose taking out both of them died, but this goes directly to the heart of the state's case. And then I think it's 21 through 25 we've agreed to redact. Obviously, this part here on the top of page 13 is very important to the state because Mr. Baldwin says, "My point is I've been doing this. I shot enough guns in my day in movies. I've never seen this before where a flash round was." Obviously, what I'm trying to get in is he's got experience with firearms, and he talks to Detective Hancock pretty extensively about that. So his personal experience with firearms on movie sets and off movie sets is all absolutely relevant. You want me to stop there?
Yeah.
Here, let's do this. Let me just...
There you go. She has that gotcha type attitude about her. I think she's...
So, Your Honor, this was already the subject of a defense motion in limine that the court ruled upon. So we have, in the transcript of the pretrial proceedings, the parties were arguing about whether or not this knowledge of danger of blanks would be admissible. And so what the court ruled was, the court said, the court makes the following ruling, weighing whether it has any tendency to make a fact more probable or less probable than it would be without it, and whether its probative value substantially is outweighed by the unfair prejudice. I think it's difficult to deal with what I read in the grand jury transcripts about, the theory about the negligent use of a deadly weapon is that this manner of handling, that he shouldn't have cocked the gun, etc. And then with respect to the alternative is that he failed to check the gun. He failed to confirm that the gun, and I remember the word confirm, about live ammunition before he pointed it at someone. The court went on. I think that I will not allow any testimony other than one sentence, probably by your expert, Ms. Morrissey, that says the blanks also can kill. But to consider that he failed somehow, that's just going to be up to the trier of fact. I think everybody knows that guns can kill. It depends on what's in there. But I think that you cannot mention it, you can mention it, but that's it. We're not going through 5 different questions on tell me how serious this is, and if he's a gun owner and he's done all these westerns or not westerns, but all this gun experience, then he should have known. Just say that, and if you can tie that up, great. So that's specifically on this subject, and so we've already argued this, and the court has already ruled. So based on that, we are asking that the court, consistent with its previous ruling, exclude these portions. And the additional portions, there will be a number of other sections in the transcript that I think we can dispense with rather quickly once we have the court's ruling on that as well.
Is that the part about when he talks about the commingling? Is one of them about the commingling and the dummy rounds?
I don't recall, Your Honor. I have them flagged, but I think we can move through them fairly quickly, and I can identify those to the court every place that is throughout the transcript. But,
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
If I may. So my concern is that I didn't realize necessarily during the motion hearing, I thought we were talking about witness testimony, not the defendant's own statements. And let me try to articulate for the court where I think some difficulty may come in. If I have my expert do what the court suggested and just have him give the one sentence, that blanks can kill, then what we're missing, the important part is that Mr. Baldwin knows that. So these statements that he made to Detective Hancock go directly to that one sentence that you're allowing us to get in, because Mr. Baldwin actually knows that, and the elements of the offense go directly to what he knew or should have known. That's in the actual jury instruction. So this is something that he knew or should have known. There are rules that say don't point the gun at anyone, and this is obviously one of the reasons, is because even if you have largely inert ammunition, it can still hurt someone, or Mr. Baldwin even indicated he knew that it could kill someone. So I think that this needs to be in for that reason.
Which motion was it?
Your Honor, it was, I'll approach the podium.
Josh, I got your package.
Your Honor, I believe this was number 3. This would be defense 3, is that correct?
Was this from you?
Defendant's motion eliminate 3, I believe it was. And we have the transcript if the court would like to review it. Based on what the state has just argued in their reply, may I just be heard as to the new arguments?
Is this your motion?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
The new argument?
Yes, the
That's
state.
her reply, isn't it? Didn't she go first?
She did. She did.
You're doing a surreply.
And if I may have just a few sentences, Your Honor, because I think this is important, as what she stated is new, since she's now talking about disagreeing with the ruling that we had. But we relied on the court's ruling. In our jury selection, we did not cover this topic. In our opening, we did not cover this topic.
It's not 3. Where is it?
I believe it's number 3. It's the foreseeability.
7, Your Honor.
Oh, 7. I apologize, Your Honor. Number 7.
You mean defendant 7?
Defendant's 7. Yes, Your Honor. It was our motion to exclude.
I don't have these numbered.
Would the court like me to present the transcript?
No.
At the court's convenience? Okay.
This whole trial has been messy. What we basically have is the defense opened the door for these documents to come in. This goes against a pretrial ruling, and it's speaking to the mindset of Alec Baldwin just after the shooting, where they want to bring in video where he appears to be like, hey, let's go have a good time, even though that, this terrible thing has happened. State wants it in. Defense wants it redacted, at least. They're not. I don't think they're arguing. I think the judge already ruled that the door was opened.
What is the name of the motion?
The name of the motion.
It's a motion to exclude evidence related to the spending meeting, Your Honor.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
The additional blanks came up in the opposition.
Okay.
In detail.
Got it.
It's a motion to exclude. The judge ruled already, so this is not coming except for one sentence. And now you've got, as a result of opening the door, this whole thing might just come right in. I don't think Alec's very happy about this.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. To allow the state to basically relitigate this, I think would put us in very dangerous territory, because the defense relied on the court's ruling, and the court was very clear about what would be permitted and what would not be. And I think to say that the state thought that somehow didn't apply to statements they wanted to introduce by Mr. Baldwin is disingenuous. And so we relied on this again in our jury.
We'll see the transcript.
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to push the button.
Okay, now the judge wants to actually see the transcript of the motion hearing that happened on Monday. She wants to know the exact wording of what was used, who said what when, and exactly how it's documented. Because she was about to rule to let this in, but just depends. This is like an unforced error, right? Anytime you open the door and let something that you fought over and won prior to trial, you let it in. This is an unforced error. Judge's not sleeping. She's reading intently. Speaking of sleeping,
this was related to, and I think I say it here where I talk about on page 154, which you left out. But this is to Mr. Nikas, where he's saying that the state Ms. Hutchins would have died if there were a blank in the gun. That they were asserting that they were going beyond live ammunition. And they were talking about that they expected witnesses to testify, in particular Mr. Carpenter, that blanks can kill as well, and that he should have known that. That's different from his own admissions of his knowledge. And I'm going to let the following in. I'm going to let page 12. I'm going to let line 13, right in the middle. Sometimes the wadding can come out. If you're closer, you can get a burn. It shows that he does have knowledge of guns.
Hang on, Your Honor, I just want to use. I see. I'm sorry.
And then on lines 18, 19, and I'm told even with the flash powder you can cause contusions and you can do a brain bleed. And then also lines 1 through 5 on page 13.
And Your Honor, I do understand the court's ruling. If I may, just for the court, just to remind me, because I know we're dealing with the transcripts and we had these arguments earlier. So if I may, just to kind of perhaps refresh the court a little bit, part of what the arguments were about as well was the fact that the way that the grand jury presentation had gone, and in that had not been focused on blanks. It was about live ammunition, live rounds, and that was the basis of what the knowledge must be in order for it to meet the elements of the charge.
This is what in the grand jury, Mr. Carpenter was talking about all these duties that Mr. Baldwin should have had, including the knowledge that blanks can kill. He said that he should have had that knowledge. Everybody has that knowledge when they talk about don't pointing the gun and things like that. And I did not want to belabor the point that blanks can kill. Okay? But that's different from Mr. Baldwin's own assertions of the knowledge that he had with respect to guns. All right.
It's coming in.
Next.
This shows that he had an understanding of the danger.
To the bottom of page 14, the last two words that start with and I'm. And then if we, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. And then if we move to the top of 15, this is the exact same information, exact same argument. It's Mr. Baldwin solidifying and reiterating what he knew or should have known that goes directly to the elements of the offense. Nothing further.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, I was actually retrieving my items. What page were we on?
If we go right down to the bottom of 14, and we just start with those two words, and then we just roll over to the first four lines of 15.
And so, the issue that we're going to have, again, with this, Your Honor, is that, we did not ask witnesses questions regarding this type of harm in what was learned, and certainly those kinds of things might have been able to come through Ms. Popple. And so, and again, we did not do jury selection on this, which we absolutely would have. We didn't open on this because of the ruling and the way that we understood it based on our review of the transcript. So I do have concerns that this is going to prejudice the defense, and we would ask that the court consider not allowing
attention
this.
to my ruling, because my ruling was with respect to witnesses, because I particularly told Ms. Morrissey that her witness got to ask her witness one sentence. That is because Mr. Carpenter was really opinionated about that blanks can kill in the grand jury, and I did not want to move away from the fact that they weren't blanks, it was live ammunition. But this goes to Mr. Baldwin's state of mind, completely different, and I'm going to let this in as well. Page 15, 1 through 4, lines 1 through 4.
Do you know where the next jump is?
Yeah.
2 losses in a row for Baldwin.
Page 62.
I think they're taking this in chunks because each little portion they want to include has slightly different language, slightly different reasons.
Okay, Your Honor, we're jumping to the bottom of page 62.
Baldwin turns around to talk to family.
You know what? I'm gonna change my position. Why don't we go ahead and just exclude the bottom of 62 and the top of 63?
Right. Yes, I agree.
What's the next one, Heather? Since you've got the tab.
They probably excluded it because it would be a messy fight and harder to win. That was not like out of the kindness of my heart, I'm not going to bring this in.
So,
Glasses.
I think that as witness testimony, and it's difficult when we're doing motions in limine because the court certainly doesn't know what all the witness testimony is going to be. So part of the issue here is we were intending to ask the court to, not necessarily today with these witnesses, to potentially reconsider this ruling. I don't think it makes a big difference in this particular interview, but we absolutely have witnesses who will testify if the court were to permit them. The safety bulletins speak directly to producers and their responsibility for set safety. I can show it to you. In addition to that, the witnesses who were on scene with Mr. Baldwin would discuss the fact that his role as producer is what enabled him to be in a position to disregard the safety rules. But with regard to this particular line,
Don't think that's been
I'm not
opened yet.
married to it. I can try to revisit this issue with the court when we have relevant witnesses on the witness stand.
Your Honor, the court had the ability to reserve.
So all I'm looking at is this line, okay?
Correct.
Both of you. And I'm going to not let it in.
Okay.
Yeah, producers was not supposed to come in. The defense did not open that door.
Okay,
Judge
next.
ruled appropriately there. Alex has
this
glasses
is out by
off.
stipulation. Let me see. Next is page 81. A portion of that is out by stipulation, but I believe the next is page 81.
Yes.
The top portion of that is out by stipulation, I believe, but then the lower part of page 81 is still subject to disagreement.
Let me just refresh my memory on what it is. So, some of this contains his, wait a minute, let me. I guess the top part of it is directly related to what he's talking about at the beginning, which the court admitted. So my concern is I don't think that if we take out and on Saturday my daughter was going to be in the movie. We had a little part for her in this top. So I want to point out that here at the bottom of page 81, Mr. Baldwin says, well, let me ask you this. Originally, this is very complicated. I mean, none of this compared to what happened to them, but my wife and my whole family was here. They weren't, but his daughter was going to be in the movie. So, again, this goes to the opening arguments, the continuing defense, that we are going to hear throughout the course of this trial. Mr. Baldwin, at this point in time, knows that someone's in the hospital and another person has been taken away on a helicopter, is critically injured, and what he is concerned about during the interview is what's happening to his family and whether or not his family is going to come and visit him. So he's actually taking a moment in the interview with the detective to talk about, this is complicated because my family is supposed to come.
All right, thank you.
So, Your Honor, the court has already ruled admissible the previous portion of this. And again, I think when the court is looking at balancing, the court can also determine how much of this to permit in. It is cumulative of what the state already has used the earlier statements to reference, which would be his supposed state of mind after the fact. I don't know how much we need to then, continue to allow in all of the rest of this over and over. And certainly, again, him wanting to have his family there with him is not shocking after something like this. It is certainly a very difficult time. But again, the court, as the court is looking at the balancing, one of those things that the court will balance is the cumulative nature of what is being offered. The court has already ruled admissible the previous statements, and we would ask that the court not allow additional statements related to that at this time based on the limited probative value of the testimony or evidence.
All right, I don't think this is of much consequence. I think that the part I ruled on earlier went to rebut the information about his coloring and everything else like that. Granted, there was a lapse in time, so that can be addressed in questioning. But the fact that his daughter was going to be in the movie and he's mentioning that, I don't think that, and she was so excited to come, I don't think that's helpful. He's just describing really his kids. That's not coming in.
Understood. Is the next one that on page 83? Is that
yes.
So now we've got 2 wins for the state, 2 wins for the defense.
And the first, I think, 5 lines are out by stipulation, and then we're just dealing with then 6.
Right. So 6 through 14. Certainly the top part is an explanation of his comments at the beginning that the court has ruled are admissible. I certainly can forfeit. I told the producers I would stay tomorrow in case anybody else, their insurance investigators, their lawyers want to talk to me. I don't have too much heartburn over letting that go, but I do think that the fact that there are 2 people who've been taken away to the hospital, and Mr. Baldwin is upset because his wife wants to cancel her trip, again goes directly to the defense of this man was devastated.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So, Your Honor, first the state, this was already part of the stipulation, was through page 83, line 5. So I won't argue that since the state had already stipulated to that earlier. With respect to lines 6 through 14, much of what is being relayed here is actually his wife's statements, about what she thought about, the weird energy or whether or not she wanted to come down. And so I think, again, the state has already is already going to be permitted to introduce those other statements related to his state of mind. This has very minimal probative value, particularly considering the court's ruling a moment ago, and we would ask that the court exclude this, particularly, again, considering the fact that a lot of this is about his wife and her thoughts as well, and it's not sufficiently probative.
Yeah, I don't think it's very relevant. I think, and the relevancy goes to the rebuttal of how he was feeling. I think that the pages 4 and 5 directly relate to that, but I don't think this does, so I'm not going to redact it. Last page.
There is further down on the same page. I believe it starts at line 22 of page 83 and then continues on into page 84, line 8.
So, Mr. Baldwin has critically injured someone, and what he's saying to the detective, and keep in mind, Your Honor, Mr. Baldwin was going to stay and complete originally he was going to be in New Mexico to complete the filming until I think close to the end of October, and he is already making plans to return home to New York, even though he's critically injured 2 people. It is the exact opposite of what the defense is going to argue, which is this was devastating to him. This devastating. I think there's even phrases in this interview where he says, "I'm devastated," or maybe it's in November 3rd. So this is completely contradictory to other statements that he makes where he says, "I'm devastated." 2 people are in the hospital and he doesn't even want to stay and make sure they're okay.
Your Honor, he offered to stay, and that's throughout this transcript. It even says it further down on this same page. He says, "Unless you tell me not to, or if you tell me to come back in, I'll do whatever it is that you want." He's making himself completely available, but not shockingly, his wife wants him home. He is a father.
I don't find it relevant to the rebuttal. It's going to be redacted. All right, next.
The next one is out by stipulation, which is on page 85.
I think that's it. Could it be?
That may be it on this one. I will note, Your Honor.
Stipulated to. Okay, what?
Yes. There were other portions within here that we had found that were related to the blank situation. I understand the court's ruling. If the court is willing to consider as part of its gatekeeping function limiting the amount of that.
Too late.
Just the amount.
Too late. That's what happens when you do 2 days before. Okay, let's go.
Just in terms of, I know that we've got one more statement to try to tackle. So now that the court has ruled on the redactions, because these are the defense requests, I'm expecting the defense to do the redactions and provide them to me quickly, because this is Hancock, and Hancock's going to take the witness stand as soon as possible.
That is our intention.
Well, you're finished, so you're going to do
No, I have
oh, that's right. Okay, I apologize.
So 10 minutes max.
Okay, and then you're going to do the redirect. So while they're doing that, go ahead and provide a copy with the redactions that I've ruled should be redacted, which were minimal. Okay.
Yes, Judge.
What's next?
There is the second statement. Is this your copy?
Yeah. The second statement, this is a statement that takes place on
I hope you
November.
got that. Do you need any clarification? Because I don't want this going south when Hancock's on the stand. Do you want me to repeat it?
I think we have it from the transcript, Ron. I think we have it from the transcript.
No. My rulings.
Yes,
So,
just we have the real time.
All right. Okay, good. Okay,
so
what's
those
next?
iPads are a transcript. They have a real-time
I said
transcript.
the jury comes back at 2. They have 1 minute before I call back the jury.
Yes,
Otherwise,
Your
you're going to abandon these.
Yes, Your Honor. We'll be quick.
So if we look at this part at the bottom of page 1 and the top of page 2,
this is what I'm going to do because we're running out of time. I'm going to make a ruling. These were given to your intended redactions were given 2 days before, and so far the only thing I've heard that was a surprise was the testimony of his knowledge of guns. But this. So let's see. Well, I mean everybody got a point somewhere. I don't find that. I'm going to redact that. I don't find that's relevant. It's just in passing, really. And he's talking about other people.
Well, if I can,
Sure.
Your Honor, I just
Yeah.
want to talk about it in a little bit more context. So what's happening here is Detective Hancock and Mr. Baldwin are talking about Ms. Gutierrez and her lawyers. Ms. Gutierrez is obviously her conduct is being discussed extensively. Mr. Baldwin says, but it's her lawyer saying that on her behalf. So if we're going to redact the bottom portion, then honestly, I think that we need to redact the part where he says it's her lawyer saying that on her behalf. I mean, I think if we redact the part about the lawyers, we redact everything.
That's fine. It does take it out of like nowhere context. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, and then if you really want to argue it. All right, page 15. I don't find this relevant.
Okay, Pete, I'm sorry. Let me catch up to you.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is stuff the state wanted to
So
bring in
this is
2 days ago?
This is relevant because what Mr. Baldwin is talking about right here to Hancock is his intention to sit for a public interview, and that public interview turns out to be with George Stephanopoulos. It was that interview that led to the accidental discharge testing and all kinds of stuff. Again, Judge, it's the defendant's own statement. He knew he had a right to counsel.
All right, I'll let 1 through 6 in, but this thing about the Kennedy Center is not coming in. 1 through 6 on page 15.
1 through 6 comes in, the rest of it's out. Understood.
Page 18. Tell me why this is relevant or not relevant or relevant.
We've blown past that minute.
Ms. Morrissey.
Okay, let me just.
Judge is going to default in favor of the defense here.
Sure. So the top part is him saying to Detective Hancock, "You don't know anything about my business. You don't know anything about my business. You're in law enforcement. You're the person who, when they do something wrong, you're the last person they want to see. You live a very, very difficult but ultimately very narrow life. I believe." Hang on. Let me finish it a little bit. Well, it all goes. I think we've got like three or four pages, so I think it all kind of goes together. Hang on just a second.
Judge is going to rule. She doesn't have time for this. Jury's waiting. It's not coming in.
Okay, so this part, I mean, the part at the bottom of 18, it puts in context the part at the top of 19, and this goes directly to Mr. Baldwin's motivation to lie about pulling the trigger of the gun. I'm 63 years old with 6 kids. I can't rely on luck anymore. He's talking about his career and that he can't rely on luck anymore. This goes exactly to his motivation not to tell the truth. Sorry.
Can we approach briefly?
Sure.
He's not feeling well. Alec Baldwin just walked out of court mid-argument in a motions hearing, a mid-trial motions hearing. He's not in custody. They can't force him to be there, and his presence can be waived by the attorney. The judge requested that he be there. But if he shows up and then says, "Hey, I'm gone," that's fine. But I don't know why he would have walked out. He hasn't been sleeping well. He's been looking like he's very tired. Let the sidebar continue here. They're clearly talking about about Mr. Baldwin. He's calling a new attorney. When you have to go, yep. We've all been there.
I don't think this information is that helpful one way or the other, but I'm going to let it in because of the lateness of your redactions. So, because it's 2 o'clock now, and so we're going to go.
It's actually right. 2:07.
I understand. May I just briefly be heard on that point?
No.
No.
All right.
No, I have to search Instagram.
Get your redactions in earlier.
Understood, Your Honor.
And that includes 20
everything I put on is coming in. Do you understand? That page forward.
Wow. We're not even looking at it.
So
it's all
subsequent
just,
to.
It's all just
and
coming
that page.
Okay.
Judge is making a phone call. Hey, yeah, it's the judge. Can you send me the pizza? I'm thinking like a, I'm going to trigger some people here. Hawaiian pineapple, maybe? Blink 182. We made it all the way to 182. Going to bring the jury. Pineapple on pizza is the only way I will eat it. The only way. Oh, Tic-Tac-Toe is back. Round 2. Champion edition. 183. Mr. Baldwin's back. He's got himself a coffee. He's just tired. That's it.
No, I know. And we're asking two different questions.
Next time, don't just walk out. The judge was really mad. We covered for you, though. Thanks. Bring the jury.
If you will bring the jury.
Thank you, Judge Newman. Thanks for helping us out here in this trial. Oh, man. Another approach. Judge asked for more. Another approach.
Gotcha. Did you ask for us to come up? Yes. I just. Okay.
Shame on you, sir.
She only asked for those two, so she's just talking to the state. Obviously, the defense has the right to be there. Otherwise, it would be an ex parte meeting, even inside a court. And they're not doing that. Miss Morrissey is buffering for some reason. Glasses off. The side that won with the hurry up was the state. It was about sixes on the decided issues, but because of the time limit and the fact that I believe it was the defense who just came in with the redactions right at the last minute, like 2 days ago, the judge says it's too late. It's too late. We're just letting them in. And so whatever came next, I don't know who chose which order they were going to do it, whether it was in sequential pages or in time, but everything from where we stopped on, the judge just said it's coming in. We don't have time for this. It's too late. You should have done this earlier. David C. says he's going to pass out after realizing he shouldn't have gone on the TV interview.
Go ahead. Mr. Spiro.
Good afternoon. You had seen when you were testifying earlier Mr. Baldwin in court today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is the first time that you've seen him since, I believe, since the day that the incident occurred?
Correct.
And of course, you see him here as a defendant in a courtroom wearing a suit jacket. He wasn't dressed like that on the scene, right?
Right.
He was Harlan Rust, and he had his actor costume on, right?
Yes.
And you actually took those clothes and tested them for blood, like you said before, right?
I did.
And he was shaking as you did that, was he not?
He seemed upset as I did that.
And of course, you remember that, right?
Yes.
And the lapel that you've reviewed has refreshed your memory.
Correct.
And you know that he received a phone call from his friend Joel, the director who had been shot, and you used that information to then send officers to the hospital to retrieve the bullet, correct?
I believe we already had deputies at the hospital at that time.
But he told you that and told you that that would be something that he wanted you to do, right?
He indicated it was something he wanted law enforcement to do, but we were already making the necessary, we were already sending a deputy to the hospital to retrieve that.
And he told you that he pulled the gun out, he turned, and he just cocked the gun, right?
He did state that, yes.
He didn't say he pulled the trigger, right?
I don't recall him saying that.
And you never tested the hammer of that gun for DNA, did you?
I do not know the FBI lab's process for processing a firearm for DNA.
But because he told you that, and I'm putting up A10, defense exhibit, that's why you knew that the document that had fallen near Miss Hutchins that says macro on hammer as thumb cocks it was so important. Isn't that right?
There was a paper inside of the church that indicated a firearm was being used, so I photographed it. We had paperwork that was later collected out of Miss Hutchins's side bag that was also additional script. And that was collected because it was part of her bag, part of her personal property.
And you see the name Halyna on top, right?
Yes, this is what was taken out of her bag.
And what was at the floor, A3, Russ Colt cocked quietly now. Did I read that right?
Yes.
And you and your fellow officers discussed this and said, this is important. It confirms what he told us, didn't you?
I believe that I stated it was important because it was a script that involved a firearm inside the church where a shooting had occurred.
And after this point in time, eventually, you all sent that firearm off, not to have the firearm tested, its hammer for DNA, but rather for it to end up being destroyed in the testing, or broken in the testing, if you prefer.
The firearm was sent for DNA, and additional testing was not conducted until later.
We were talking also, to move away from the firearm for a second, about how the lethal round got on set, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Baldwin, you actually told him that you would figure it out.
Did he say Baldwin?
You gave him that assurance. You said, I get it. I know that there was a live round, wasn't supposed to be on set. We law enforcement are going to find that out, didn't you?
I believe the words that I used was, that's why we're here. We're here to try and figure out what happened.
And one of your fellow officers sort of came over the top of you and sort of confirmed to him, don't worry, we're going to find out.
Objection to whatever a fellow officer.
Effect on listener? What? One word, but objection. Yes, what is it?
Objection, hearsay, the officer.
One word.
Who is speaking up.
Respond.
It's not for the truth of the matter asserted, but that it was her.
Okay. Well, did you lay the foundation for that? Did you ask her what she did because of that?
Not yet, but I can.
Okay.
And after you...
If he lays that foundation for effect on listener.
After what you said and what you heard from your fellow officer, it is true, as you testified previously, that you did go out to seek the source of that lethal round, right?
Please rephrase your question as to the word seek.
Sure. After you said what you said and the officer said what he said, is it not the case that you made it a priority to try to find the source of the lethal ammunition, correct?
Our priority was to find the facts of what had happened in this situation.
And one of the steps that you took that we talked about by searching the truck, by going to Seth Kenny, by getting a PDQ. One of the things you then did was you did seek out and try to find the source of the lethal ammunition, correct?
Yes.
And as you were doing that, you continued to work with Corporal Hancock, right?
Yes.
You would see her and the prosecutors often, right?
I would see Corporal Hancock more often.
And you testified previously about the search for the lethal ammunition at the trial of the armorer, correct?
Yes.
And a question came up at that trial of this issue of, did Seth Kenny really provide the ammunition to Seth or not, right?
Yes, I believe that came up.
Okay. And eventually there was a verdict in that case, right?
Yes.
And a good Samaritan walked into the police station and gave you the lethal ammunition, didn't they?
After the Hannah Gutierrez trial, there was an individual that came to the police station and stated they had ammunition.
Just mentioned the trial.
And they turned in the ammunition.
Yes.
And they gave it to you, right?
Yes.
And they told you that this was the ammunition that ended up with Seth Kenny that killed Miss Hutchins, right?
I do not recall all of their statements.
Who did you tell about that?
During that conversation, my Lieutenant Brian Brandel, was with me, and Detective Hancock was aware of that individual, that he had come to the sheriff's office.
It's a he. You know it's a he.
And you never vouchered that and turned it over to the defense, did you?
It was a doc information situation.
I don't know what that means. Can you just explain it to me?
Meaning that I was instructed by my lieutenant to create a doc info report on it.
And I mean, what does that mean?
It means we're documenting information that this individual came and gave this ammunition to us.
And then never got turned
Okay,
over
but
to
you
defense.
didn't, I mean, he told you it had to do with the Rush shooting, correct?
Yes.
And he told you actually that he was a police officer in a neighboring county, right?
I believe he said he was a retired police officer, yes.
And he told you all had been duped by Seth Kenny, didn't he?
No,
In words and substance, didn't he?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. And he said to you, I'm willing to fill out a witness statement, right?
No, I don't recall that.
He told you that the rounds came from a green ammo can, didn't he?
Judge, I have to object to your say.
Sustained.
But it's juicy, Judge. Let it in.
Did you take the rounds that were provided to you? By the way, they were Starline Brass Nickel Primer live, weren't they?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Really?
That is what I said.
Wow. Somebody close to Seth delivered the missing ammo to the police after the Halyna Gutierrez trial. That's what we just heard. A good Samaritan.
Well, it's information acted upon is going to be my response. But he told you the reason that he was coming in is because he didn't trust law enforcement on this case.
Well, you know what? She's going to object to hearsay, and you're going to say effect on listener?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to lay your foundation better. You are.
So, let me ask this question.
Do it, man. Do it. We need
How
this.
How come law enforcement didn't voucher this with the rest of the evidence in the Rust case?
I'm not sure what you mean by the word voucher.
How come you didn't inventory it and put it with all the rest of the evidence in the Rust case?
I was instructed to put this in as a doc information case, which I did, and it is under that case number.
You buried it?
Yes.
No.
Your lieutenant?
There is a supplemental report on it, and that was placed into evidence.
Did you ever turn that over to the defense?
So we just found out.
I have not turned over anything to the defense. My information goes through the sheriff's office.
Are you aware of whether the sheriff's office ever informed the defense that a Good Samaritan came in and turned in this ammunition?
I do not know.
When the defense came to view the Starline brass nickel primer live ammunition with you, you didn't show them this, did you?
I did not have an evidence viewing with the defense. That was my coworker.
Your coworker didn't show this to the defense, correct?
I do not know.
Do you have any reason to believe your coworker showed this to the defense, given that it wasn't put in the same inventory as the rest case?
No.
They buried this. What I'm gathering is it sounds like
Did you or anyone from the sheriff's office
from PDQ
ever tell the armorer or her lawyers that a Good Samaritan came in after the verdict and gave you this information?
I do not know.
This is the most shocking thing that's happened in
But you
this
do
or the
agree.
Hannah case at this point.
He did tell you that Seth said this was the evidence from the shooting, correct?
I don't recall what he stated, what someone else stated.
And you told him he didn't have to write a witness statement. Law enforcement was going to type up a report on it today, right?
I never stated any such thing about a witness statement.
I don't know what
offered
effect this
to
would have
provide
on
a
Hannah.
written witness statement so that it was clear. Did he not?
I do not recall that happening.
Okay. Did you give him assurances that you would type up a report on it?
I don't recall providing assurances to him.
Did you tell him that you would write up a report on it?
I don't recall doing that either.
Do you deny it?
No.
So when you testified earlier that you never found the ammunition that killed Miss Hutchins, that wasn't true either, was it?
Boom.
Can you rephrase the way you stated that?
Sure.
You lied.
As you sit here today, having had a Good Samaritan turn in these 45 rounds into the precinct, right?
If that's what you're discussing,
Yeah. You don't know whether or not you have in your possession the live rounds that killed Miss Hutchins, do you?
the live round that killed Miss Hutchins has been fired. Are you asking me about a connection between those live rounds and other ones?
Yes.
I'm asking you, as we've talked about at great length, whether or not you withdraw. I'm asking you, isn't it the case that law enforcement likely has the matching rounds to the ammunition that killed Miss Hutchins?
I do not know.
And you do not know because you made a doc report about this and did not put it with the rest of the rust evidence, correct?
Those rounds were not placed with the rest of the rust evidence, correct?
Nor were they sent to the FBI for testing with the rust evidence, were they?
No, they were not.
This is a big win for the defense because it looks shady on the state that they buried this. They had this, the one piece, the smoking gun piece we were looking for, turned up.
Redirect.
After Hannah's trial was over, after she was, found guilty, and they hid it. They hid the evidence. And it sounds like it came from PDQ.
Ms. Poplar, are you a detective?
No, I am not.
Did you interview any of the witnesses in this case?
No, I did not.
You didn't interview Mr. Baldwin?
No.
You didn't interview Ms. Gutierrez?
No.
Mr. Spiro was asking you about the Good Samaritan. who arrived at the sheriff's department after the Gutierrez trial. Can you tell the members of the jury when the Gutierrez trial was?
I don't recall exactly. I believe it was back in April.
Would you take end of February, beginning of March?
Yes, that sounds more accurate.
Okay. Do you recall the Good Samaritan's name?
I do not.
Would you recognize it if I said it to you?
Yes.
Troy Teskey.
Troy.
Yes, that was his name.
Troy Teskey.
Are you aware that Troy Teskey is a close friend of Hannah Gutierrez Reed's father?
No, I did not know that.
Are you aware that Troy Teskey had his own motivations for wanting to place blame on Seth Kinney to help Hannah Gutierrez?
Objection, leading. Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled, overruled.
Wow.
Please, answer.
No, I had no knowledge of that.
So either it came from PDQ or it came from Hannah's dad. But it came through somebody who's connected somehow to both of them.
Now, to be clear, is Mr. Baldwin charged with involuntary manslaughter for bringing live rounds on the movie set?
No.
Is Mr. Baldwin charged with involuntary manslaughter for loading a live round into the gun?
No.
Has a person already been tried and convicted for those things?
Yes.
Wow. That's the first time we've heard.
To try to clarify some points, Starline Brass, is that a brand of ammunition?
Yes, it is.
Is it a brand of ammunition or a casing?
Casing.
It is a casing.
Okay. And the live rounds from the set of rust had nickel primers, right?
Yes.
Objection, leading every question.
Overruled.
Well, that was leading. Come on.
So, let me ask you this. When you went to PDQ to conduct your search, because you're not the detective, do you remember whether he had any surveillance video or not?
I don't remember.
So, with regard to Mr. Kinney, prior to the search of PDQ, did Mr. Kinney actually bring his own live ammunition to the police station?
Yes.
So before you ever executed a search warrant, he went to the police station and said, I want to give you a sample of my live ammunition.
Yes.
And you took that and you sent it to the FBI, right?
Correct.
Now, with regard to ammunition, characteristics of some of this ammunition is it says Starline Brass on the top, right? And when I say it says Starline Brass, describe to the jurors what the emblem is that we see.
It is a star, an arching line, and then another star.
Very, very common.
The live ammunition
I have some
that was
myself.
taken from PDQ, was it all Starline Brass?
No.
Was it all nickel primers?
No.
Now, in addition to the stamp on the top of the casing and the color of the primer, does ammunition have different shaped projectiles?
Yes.
And when we're talking about the projectile, we're talking about, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the nose of the bullet, so what actually gets projected out the barrel of the gun.
Elmo, please. Thank you, sir.
I don't think a recross will be permitted here. The judge has not allowed it yet. And she objected to it in motions with the Sur rebuttal.
I'm showing you it's been previously admitted. It's State's Exhibit 26. Remind us, which are the live rounds? The suspected live rounds, sorry, we'll get there.
The ones to the right.
And what are the ones on the left?
They are dummy rounds.
Is there a different shape to the tip of the projectile?
Yes.
Tell us what the difference is.
So the live rounds.
You can mark your screen if you want.
Okay. So the live rounds have a flattened surface to them, whereas our dummy rounds come to a further point. Sorry, I was trying to draw a line. Almost like a curvature to a better point.
Yeah, I don't want her on my Pictionary team.
Prior to the Gutierrez trial, did you take out a ruler and measure those?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall the size of what we call the meplet, which is that very top of the projectile? Do you recall the size of the live rounds?
Yes, the live rounds were 6 millimeters and the dummy rounds were 4 millimeters.
Every single live round, well, suspected live round, taken from the set of rust, was it a 6 millimeter meplet?
Yes.
All of the live ammunition that was taken from PDQ, to include the live ammunition that Seth Kinney brought into the sheriff's station, did any of those have 6 millimeter meplets?
No.
Sounds sort of like.
Do you have any evidence that Seth Kinney is the source of the live rounds on rust?
No.
If you know, is there evidence that Hannah Gutierrez brought the live rounds onto the set of rust?
Yes.
What is that evidence? Let's talk about it.
The evidence that I am aware of is a photograph on a cell phone of the rounds in the background of a photograph that was taken with a cell phone. Those rounds are the same ones from the same box that were being pulled from that day, that were handed to Lieutenant Benavides.
Basically, the packaging was the same.
I can find an exhibit to help us.
There's a photo that should have been at Hannah's dad's house, I think, that matched like to the damages and scratches and dents in the styrofoam, the package that was found on the set.
Go ahead, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and clear your screen, the marks.
Chicken scratches is what I call those.
Is this the box you're referring to right here?
Yes.
Is it your understanding that Hannah Gutierrez admitted to bringing that box on the set?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that Hannah Gutierrez actually provided evidence to the sheriff's department that she was provided that box by her father?
Yes.
And the Good Samaritan who came in with the live rounds and was telling you Seth Kinney's the bad guy, that happened how long after the incident?
That happened well after the incident in after February, so March of this year.
So Ms. Hutchins died in what year?
In October of 2021.
And Mr. Teskey, Hannah Gutierrez's father's good friend, the Good Samaritan, he decided to bring this ammunition in after her conviction?
Objection.
Is that right?
Objection. Assumes facts, not evidence. Misleading.
Overruled, unless you want to come up and tell me.
Yes, I do.
All right, come on up.
Are we still on 187 for our counts? Did I miss a couple? This is amazing. I will have to say, I agree with Red Pen. Miss Morrissey is doing an incredible job responding to this surprise sort of direction in questioning we got. The bombshell that dropped was that after the Halyna Gutierrez trial, a good Samaritan showed up, former law enforcement, retired law enforcement, that's acquainted with Seth Kinney and related to Hannah's or connected with Hannah's dad.
Last question, please.
Just handed over the matching ammo that was used, the live ammo that was used on the set. But it sounds like it was done in a way to point the finger of blame at PDQ, which is Seth Kinney's place.
Gutierrez's father's good friend, the Good Samaritan, he decided to bring this ammunition in after her conviction. Is that right?
Go ahead and answer.
Yes.
This is bizarre. It's wild.
In your experience, if Seth Kinney wanted to hide the fact that he had live ammunition at PDQ, he had plenty of time to get rid of it, right?
Yes.
And you found some there, right?
Yes.
And the photograph, well, was all of the live ammunition in the same place?
Yes.
Where was it found?
Green box in the bathroom.
It was in a box on the bottom of a stack labeled as live ammo.
And for completeness, was there live ammunition found in another room away from this box?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Did you find any ammunition that was not .45 caliber anywhere else at PDQ?
I believe there were 2 boxes of
38
marked 38 caliber ammunition that were in another room.
Probably personal defense
Did
rounds.
Mr. Kinney
not
tell
related
you
to
that
business.
his personal firearm's a .38?
There it is.
No, I did not know that.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been previously admitted as defendants A23. Is this... So when we're talking about .45 caliber ammunition, well, let's back up. Is that the only caliber of live ammunition or suspected live ammunition found on the set of Rust?
Yes.
21, you said?
23, A23. So if you find 38 live ammunition, is that important to you?
No.
Because 38 is not 45, right?
Correct.
So
They're not
the
interchangeable.
45 caliber ammunition that you found at PDQ, is this where you found it?
Yes.
Any mistaking that that would be live ammunition?
No.
Why?
Creepy look.
It was clearly marked as live ammunition in that box.
And let me ask you, Ms. Popple, the ammunition that the Good Samaritan, Mr. Teskey, the close friend of Hannah Gutierrez's dad, when that ammunition that he brought to you after her conviction, you still have it?
Yes.
You can bring it in here and you can show it to the jury, right?
Yes.
And they can see for themselves that it does not match the live ammunition from the set of Rust, correct?
Yes.
And that is obvious just when you look at it, is it not?
Yes.
The guy lied? Another layer of lies?
Do you know how many boxes of dummy ammunition were provided to the set of Rust by Seth Kinney?
If I recall correctly, just 1.
Do you know how many boxes of dummy ammunition were provided to the set by Hannah Gutierrez?
At least 2.
Fair enough.
Senator Fine, I love this point. None of this really should impact.
Now, you were
Alec
asked some
Baldwin.
questions on cross-examination, and I think they were related to, let me get the exhibit just so that we know what we're talking about. You were asked some questions about the gun belt. You remember those questions on cross?
Yes.
And I think the actor was Jensen Ackles.
Correct.
Yes, please bring him in. Everyone's been asking.
Do you know whether or not Jensen Ackles checked his firearm on the set of the movie?
No, I do not.
Whether he did his own safety checks?
I do not know.
Wasn't he the other actor who had a
talk
live fire incident on that set?
briefly about, let me make sure I have the proper exhibit numbers for the record.
Diane, unfortunately, the way I'm doing things, I can't do the closed captioning, unfortunately. YouTube would not allow closed captioning with rapid, low latency live streams like we have. I could bring it in through a feed, but it would interrupt all the other texts and messages of our chat.
I want to be clear, if you recall, I'm showing you defendants A27. Where did those dummy rounds come from?
These were the dummy rounds removed from the box with blue writing that stated dummy rounds.
And who do you know supplied those rounds?
Seth Kenny.
And I think I made a mistake on direct examination. This is State's Exhibit 30. Is that what I showed you?
Yes, I believe so.
Defense caught that.
And so those actually didn't come out of that box, did they?
Correct.
Do you know where they came from?
They came from a gun belt that was located inside of the prop truck.
Defendants A26, is that where they came from?
Yes.
Based on the dummy rounds in both of these pictures, from the box and from the gun belt, do they have distinctive characteristics?
Yes.
Have they been identified? Who do you know who supplied all of the dummy rounds that were in the gun belt and in the box?
Yes, that was Seth Kenny.
All right. You were asked some questions about some documents that you photographed. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
I'm trying to find them. Are counsel, are all of the exhibits still up here? Take that as a yes.
They didn't respond. I love the snark in this one.
I have the script and shells.
Those are the exhibits? Does it say copy? Okay, can I use them then?
Yes.
Okay, as long as they're the same.
They're the same.
Okay, we'll just use your copies. This is Defendant's Exhibit A10. You remember being shown this?
Yes.
Do you have any idea when this exhibit, or I'm sorry, when scene 125 was being filmed?
No, I do not.
Same question for scene, is it 55 or 66? I apologize.
No.
'68.
No.
115.
No.
118.
No.
121.
No.
130.
No.
In fact,
Ready or not, here I come.
if you know, was Ms. Hutchins killed during the filming of an actual scene?
No, she was not.
She was not. Is that right?
Correct.
Same thing here for 118 again. Ms. Hutchins wasn't killed during the filming of a scene, was she?
No, she was not.
Okay, that's sneaky. They were blocking for a scene. They were getting some B-roll cutaway shots.
Do you know, if
Setting
you
up
do,
for it.
do you know who wrote the script?
No, I do not.
Do you know who the director of the movie was?
I believe that was Joel Sousa.
Do you know whether or not he's going to come in and testify?
No, I do not.
Did he testify in the Gutierrez trial?
I believe he did, yes.
Did you interview the person who wrote the script?
No.
Did you interview any of the witnesses in the room at the time of the shooting?
No, I did not.
So you haven't talked to a single person who could tell you whether these defense A3 and A10 are relevant at all. Is that right?
Correct.
I think she's about done.
You were asked by Mr. Spyro whether or not it was true that live ammunition should never be on a movie set, and you said that was correct. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You've never worked on a movie set before, have you?
No, I've not.
How do you know that?
Makes sense to me. Makes common sense.
But do you know?
No, I do not know the rules of movie sets.
You're not aware that there are safety bulletins for the use of live ammunition on movie sets?
No, I did not know that.
All total, including prop truck, the entire scene out there at Bonanza Creek, how many real firearms were taken into evidence?
If I can look at my report.
Sure.
Sorry, I was taking a little Baldwin there.
I believe 13 in total.
13 real firearms.
Yes.
Now, you were asked some questions about Mr. Kinney being present at the search of the prop truck. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you remember why he was present?
I don't recall the details of why he was present.
Do you recall how the sheriff's department got access to the safe?
Yes, Seth Kenny provided us with the combination.
And the firearms that you recovered, real and fake, who did they belong to?
It's my understanding they belonged to Seth Kenny.
Would you say that those firearms were many thousands of dollars in value?
Yes.
And do you know who provided the vast majority of the blank ammunition?
That I do not know.
Okay. Does it surprise you that the person who owns the guns had access to the safe?
No.
Have you ever discovered any evidence that Seth Kenny was ever physically present on the set of Rust other than the day that he helped unlock the safe for your search?
No.
Do you recall you were asked some questions about you had information about a green ammo can? And that was one of the reasons that you executed the search warrant. You recall those questions?
Yes.
Do you remember where you got the information about the green ammo can?
I do not.
Did you review any of the photographs from any of the cell phone extractions that were done in this case?
No.
Did you look at any of the text messages between the different witnesses in this case?
No.
Do you have any information that Hannah Gutierrez previously asked if she could have live ammunition on the movie set she was working on with Nicolas Cage?
I do not have that information.
Okay.
I think we're at 198 right now. Been trying to keep track.
Now, I understand we've got some photographs of PDQ, and it looked like it was really
mess.
Packed full of stuff. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, you called it a warehouse. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about how big that facility is?
It's a very small facility. It has an upfront office, a hallway that leads to a bathroom, and one small workshop room, and then a room towards the back.
Is it possible for you to estimate the square footage?
No, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. It's a small building.
Yes.
Now, as a crime scene technician, are you trained to find pieces of evidence in difficult areas?
Yes.
Have you ever been in a person's home or apartment that kind of looked like a hoarder place?
Yes.
How many times do you think that's happened to you?
Several dozen.
Several dozen?
At least, yes.
And you're trained to look for evidence in that kind of an environment?
Yes.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Kenny's business is a prop house?
Yes.
Would you expect a prop house to be full of props?
Yes.
Was the prop house indeed full of movie props?
Yes.
Did anyone live there?
I don't believe so, no.
Note from a bailiff just came into the judge. Might have been from the jury.
Do you have any idea, based on the investigation that you did, whether or not Mr. Baldwin cocked the gun when he wasn't supposed to?
I do not have any information based on what I conducted. No.
Because you didn't interview any of those witnesses, right?
Correct.
You were asked some questions, or at least one or two questions, about your pretrial interview with the defense attorneys. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Was Mr. Spiro even present at your pretrial interview?
I don't believe so, no.
Was that 200?
I'm almost done. Let me just review my notes.
I have two notes, questions from the jury.
Okay.
2 notes from the jury. The jury was instructed to get the notes in before the witness left the stand. We made it to 200.
If you know the investigation into the source of the live rounds, did that investigation continue after the case was turned over to the district attorney's office?
I do not know.
Brooke, thanks for gifting a membership. Thank you very much.
As a crime scene technician, in your experience, do revolvers go off by themselves?
Objection.
Yeah.
701, 702.
Withdrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not an expert.
That was sustained.
And she's not an expert witness.
I want to just back up real quick. You were asked a question on cross-examination about specifically information that you had prior to putting in the request for the accidental discharge testing. You recall that question?
Yes.
And I think you testified that you didn't recall what information you received. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you were provided a document to refresh your memory. Do you recall that?
Yes.
May I approach?
For what? That document? You are newer, Brooke. Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome, newer Brooke.
Thank you, Judge. No problem. Thank you.
Ms. Popple, have you had an opportunity to review that?
Yes.
How many pages is it?
It is 3 pages.
Does that document say anything about accidental discharge testing?
Objection.
That is that's a refresh of memory, so it doesn't have to.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to sustain his objection.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask this question, and maybe let's see how it goes.
Why not?
Does it say anything about the gun being destroyed?
No. I'm sorry. No.
Spiro does is like.
Did that document refresh your memory as to what you understood from the FBI about what the condition of the gun would be after the testing?
Yes.
It does.
Does refresh my memory, yes. I'm sorry, can you restate that?
Does that document, the question you were asked on cross-examination was about the information that...
Counsel, okay. I'm sorry to break you up, but let me give you these.
Whoa. Did Judge just save the prosecution from a gaffe? I thought she said the document did not refresh her testimony when she was talking to the defense, and now the prosecution says, does that refresh your recollection? She says, yes, it does. And she's like, wait, that's the wrong answer. They're now, she interrupted that little whoopsie where I think the witness gave the wrong answer there. Now the two sides are talking probably about both the question. Well, Miss Morrissey is looking at the question from the jury. Glasses off. Thank you, Virginia. Glasses back on. He's like, can I read it? Can I read them?
After Ms. Hutchins was shot,
that's not
do you know whether or not the gun was unloaded by anyone on the set?
The information that was relayed to me was that
I'm not sure why we jumped back in time like that. Let's go to 3 here.
Set of rust collected from the set of rust. Do you know who the fanny pack belonged to? Do you know who the fanny pack belonged to?
Gutierrez. Yes.
And was any of the live ammunition found in the fanny pack?
No.
Too many audios there.
After Ms. Hutchins was shot, do you know whether or not the gun was unloaded by anyone on the set?
The information that was relayed to me was that the firearm was emptied.
I don't know why we jumped back in time.
Hannah onto the cart.
Because it looks like they're still up there.
I'll pass the witness.
I just have one question. The Good Samaritan asked you, in reference to the ammunition he provided, question, and that's the one that killed Halyna. And you said yes, correct?
I don't recall that.
Do you deny it?
I don't deny it.
No further questions.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take our afternoon bathroom break. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court, and let's try to get back in around 3:20. Okay, thank you.
3:20. We get a 15-minute break. I'll try to resync all our videos here just briefly during the break. Not sure why. Why did camera 2 switch?
We're going to go on the bench conference, but we're in recess for all intents and purposes for bathroom break for the rest of you.
So basically, the rest of you can use the bathroom, but the attorneys have to come up to the judge's bench, and preferably not use the bathroom there. So quick bench conference. A little spicy there. It got crazy, and then it settled down a little bit. For a minute, it sounded like we had an outside party that just a good Samaritan had shown up in court, or not in court, but had shown up at the sheriff's office and handed over the bullets. These are the bullets. These are the missing bullets. The rest of the bullets from the set that were used there. This is the box where the deadly bullet was taken from and loaded into his gun. And we're like, whoa. And at the same time, apparently he made comments about that Seth was pulling the wool over their eyes. He had them all duped. But the individual who turned this in, this is after Halyna Gutierrez was convicted. The individual who turned them all in is a friend of Hannah's dad. And so, wow. Just crazy. And it appears that it's not good evidence. They don't trust it. They don't trust the source. All right, let's see what we can do here. See if we can we got 15 minutes to fix all these feeds. Man, it's gonna be a bear. I'm ready for a bathroom break. Do you guys want a bathroom break?
Are we gonna address subject matter jurisdiction?
Are we on? Let's see. Let's go back to. Let's see. 4 will be 8. There we go. Let's go back to here. DSK on air. There we go. So we have 209. We're on 210 for the specklemeter. Okay, bathroom break means we get to play some music, and I'm gonna let's play this music. Nothing Do you want cats or do you want the? Oh, we can't do the bus. We have to do cats. There we go. All right. I'm not a camel. There we go. Be right back. Quiet. Hands dried and everything. That song bugs you a bit. Which Red Pen, that one bugs you? Do you want a different one? We've got want sad piano music. We have sad piano music. It's very relaxing. All right. Red Pen, I didn't know that song triggers you. Who needs RA? That's awesome. Love it. It does. All right, we'll try not to do the cat music too much. Kim R. Kim, I still need to know how in the world you got into my unlisted live stream. Anyone else notice the 2 recent gifted memberships that weren't called out by YouTube? Are they starting something new? Whoa. Let's see. We had Brooke and we had Anne. Were there more other than that? Did I miss some? Can you turn commands on for now? Yeah, they're on right now. It's mod chat. Okay, let me get to mod chat.
I'm not a camel.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
Shame on you, sir.
Have them send someone with more experience.
Somebody just sent me a video of roaches fighting. I don't know who won.
I saw a chicken fight.
Comments with the music are great.
Because he's the guy.
Okay, so there's a possibility. There's
Don't
a high
miss
possibility
the forest for the trees.
that everybody here has received a gift membership who is eligible.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
This is not Burger King. People do not get to have it their way.
Okay, Josh says, this is a good time for this. Josh says, how would you describe and rank the snacks?
Stolen as well.
These are, it says Virginia peanuts, but then at the bottom it's dill pickle flavor. I didn't think I'd like them as much as I do.
Somebody just sent me a video of roaches fighting.
And I didn't think Mrs. Aria would hate them as badly as she does. She ate one and she was like, no, yuck.
Is that correct?
It still tastes like it on my tongue, yuck. It was awful. I love it.
When are we going to break
I love
for
it.
lunch, Judge?
I've probably eaten more than I should.
Shame on you, sir.
They have a great taste and I would say a significant lingering taste. This very strong dill flavor.
Squirrel.
Okay. Now I'm sleeping
not
with
a
this music.
cat.
It's nap time. We've got just a few more minutes. I think 5 more minutes before the court comes back. Who do you think is winning at the minute? This is a great question, Shadow. I think with this particular witness, the defense did a lot to discredit her, but honestly, discrediting her doesn't change the fact that Alec is, with what he's charged with and where it stands, because he never was charged with bringing the bullet onto the set. So all they're doing is sort of discrediting the investigation, and that might serve them a little bit later on in the trial. But this wasn't really, even if they won, I mean, even if the jury completely disregards, doesn't believe any of this lady's testimony, it doesn't change the fact that Alec Baldwin was holding a gun that had a bullet in it, and it went off and it shot and hit 2 people, and one of them was killed. That's the fact, and it's stipulated to. They know that. Everyone agrees that those are the facts, the basis of the facts. So nothing here really changes anything for Alec Baldwin. So even though it looks like the defense won a lot of these, the state won some of the motions that led up to this last little stint right after lunch.
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
I think that's going to serve them a little bit better as they start bringing in some of those documents later on, because that makes Alec look bad. It makes him. It changes the mindset. It gives you a little glimpse into his
the
life.
zombie apocalypse may be
and
upon us.
how he responded to this shooting. What was his mindset then? So that might hurt him later on. So that was a big win for the state. So because this really doesn't tip the scales at all for Alec at all, I'd say even though defense has won on this witness, the state so far has been the winner today. Let's see. Walker says, I suppose you can't use music we'd be more familiar with due to copyright situation. It'd be fun for us to recommend songs if you could play them, like I Fought the Law. Yes. What happens is I can play music like that. And the artist might even send me a Christmas card saying thank you for your donation, because they will immediately copyright claim my live stream and any revenue associated with it. And they'll say thank you, that goes to me, and that makes it hard to keep doing what I do. But there might be some days where we just say, look, we're going to get a copyright claim today, and we're just going to roll with it, and let's play some music we all like. Plus we've got Big Dill. We can play Big Dill, right? Now that we've had our nice rest, should we go with the Big Dill while we wait for... Let's see, which one is it? Is it this one? I think it's this one. No, that's not it. I've got so many copies, it's not funny. How about this one right here?
Wake up in the morning wearing headphones. I'm running court into your brain like it's an end zone. My money's green like the pickles and you want some. Don't interrupt cause I don't want your lame objection. From land t-shirts to murder, I think I've seen it all. From picking juries to when the gavel falls. The judge takes the bench and the bailiff yells all rise. And pay respect to the one and only go to true crime. Imitators they try but they just can't achieve. And when they fail they be like, ow, I stepped on a beat. Take the stand and the jury chooses not to believe, because there will never be another creator like me. Big deal in one corner and the count in another. We've got the judge reading chat while we talk to the lawyers. All our clips go viral, they're too good not to share. Came in late, check the thumbnails, you'll find it all there. They say I'm addicted to rhyme, but it's more than just time. And the mic is hot, the gavel drops, and I'll be talking about crime. And don't you worry about the sound, cause I'm keeping it real. Just like a pickle jar, but I'm one big deal. They say I'm addicted to rhyme, but it's more than just time. And the mic is hot, the gavel drops, and I'll be talking about crime. And don't you worry about the sound, cause I'm keeping it real. Just like a pickle jar, but I'm one big deal.
All right, as we fade the music out just a little bit, we have, I think we have Shark on the phone with us. Shark, how are you doing?
Yeah, just really quick.
Yeah.
I'm doing well, just finishing up work for the day.
How does he do that?
But I just really quickly wanted to say, like, I think all of this is like campaigning, just trying to win the jury's favor in like setting up a certain mood about what's really going on. But like, the fact of the matter is, me, a reasonable human being,
that was terrible.
I assume all 12 of the jurors are going to be reasonable human beings too. If someone hands me a gun that I know is a real gun because I asked for it, and tells me this gun is safe, the first thing I'm doing is I'm checking it to make sure it's empty. And if it's loaded, to make sure it's loaded with the correct safe ammunition, before I point it at anything. And even if I check it, and even if I'm told it's safe, and even if I think it's okay, I'm not pointing it at anyone. And that's the thing I can't get past on this. It doesn't matter anything else. He had a gun in his hand. He didn't check it. He pointed it at a person, and a person died.
Yeah. If the jury asks that question, if that's how they address this issue and say, what would I have done? Or if I was in that situation, what would I have done? Alec Baldwin's going away. He's going to get 18 months, just like Halyna Gutierrez. So
yeah, I mean, I don't even know that he necessarily needs to go to jail for this. Like, I think the guilty is enough, because like at the end of the day, he didn't mean to do it. Maybe restitution to the families, to the family and to the gentleman who was also
to Joel
hit.
and
but
Halyna.
Yeah. But I don't even think he needs to go to jail for this. Like, personally, he made a huge mistake, and I think that he's Alec Baldwin. If he gets a guilty on this, it's going to sting no matter what. I'm sure he's already punished himself 1,000 times over before this trial.
So do you think that Hannah should get should have gotten jail time?
Oh, absolutely. Screw her. Lock her up.
All right.
She didn't come into this with the right mindset. But anyway, I'll go ahead and let you guys go because I'm sure court's going to start up any moment.
It might in just a second. I've gone and lost my screens aren't working properly, so we'll figure out what's up here in just a second. But all right, we have at least one feed, possibly two, so we'll roll with that. With what we have. Shark, I appreciate the comments. Right. Thanks for making the call. Thanks for listening through the music.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You're great.
Awesome. Thank you, Shark. Bye.
Bye.
Kind words from Shark, and strong sentiment that I pretty much agree with a little bit. Let's see, why is my mouse not working over here? Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with fire. Okay, I need to close. One, two, three, four. Okay, I've got two feeds open. That's why. Amber, how are you doing?
I'm driving again. I know we're waiting to come back from break at any minute, but can I ask a question? Because
you can ask.
I'm so okay. Cut me off whenever, or just hang up on me. It's fine. When court comes back. So I feel like the defense is trying to say, but for Hannah Gutierrez, this would have never happened. So you have to find him not guilty. Is that the vibe they're going with?
Well,
is that the reason for proving or bringing up the whole Good Samaritan thing?
I think the Good Samaritan part was just to bring up the fact that they can make it look like the police hid evidence that's important to this trial. That was their gotcha moment. That was the big mic drop moment, and she admitted to it. It's like, we hid it in this document, and it wasn't included in the rest evidence.
Right, but I feel that they're doing that because they're trying to say, because nobody had confirmed where the live rounds came from, right? I mean, that happened after her verdict, so it wasn't a factor in her trial. It would have hurt her anyway, because the implication is the only way they could have come on set was through Hannah Gutierrez Reed.
Right.
Because of the position she held and where the ammunition came from. So it's like the defense is saying, but for Hannah Gutierrez Reed, if it weren't for her, none of this would have happened. So whether he pulled the trigger or not, it's not Alec's fault. I feel like that's where they're going with it.
They might be trying to appeal to somebody who might say, you've already convicted somebody for this. Why are you going for another? A lot of people have a hard time thinking of, we've already got justice. We've already got justice. Why are we trying to extend that to anywhere where any shred of blame might land, where, especially if it might be lesser blame than the other person. But I think they're going to try to appeal to that a little bit.
Right. I don't know. I'm trying to understand both sides and stay as neutral as possible, but you have I'm trying to put myself in that particular area and like that demographic, but then again, his experience, he should know by now. So, I mean, whether or not it was his responsibility to check or verify or even look doesn't matter. It doesn't matter their responsibility and their job description. Any reasonable, knowledgeable anybody about weaponry says you just double check it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shinobi Business has a comment that says, but his role as a producer is responsible for hiring completely unqualified armor, cutting corners, saving money. Yes. There were, 7 producers on this movie? There's a whole bunch of them, right? And
I did a data dump after Hannah Gutierrez, so I don't remember.
There were a lot of producers, and they all had different roles. They split up a little bit. Some were sort of like in name only. Some I think had like more financial role in the making of the film, but none of the rest of them got charged. So I think the judge was right to exclude that information that Mr. Baldwin was a producer on the set, because that in and of itself is not grounds for a criminal charge of manslaughter.
Right.
I've got someone coming in. Blackbird Squeaks is calling, so I have to take the call, Amber.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Hey, Blackbird, they just came back to court, so we're about to. You got seconds. Are you there? Oh no, Blackbird hung up. I tried, Blackbird. We lost you. Court came back. Did I hit the wrong button? I think you went to voicemail. That might have been my fault, Blackbird. I apologize. I tried to answer that, but I fat fingered it. All right, coming back in court right now. A couple sneezes from prosecution. Still missing Miss Morrissey. Now Blackbird calls. Let's see.
Call from Blackbird Squeak.
Blackbird, they just came back from break. Do you have like just a second? Go ahead. Really quick.
It's not about whether he checked it.
What's
it's
it?
about how he handled the gun. He might as well have just pulled the trigger, because he cocked the hammer back, swinged and flicked it, or let it go.
Yeah.
And the hammer hit the thing.
I would
That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I would say that in the movie world, what he did happens every single day.
Yeah, probably. But this time it killed somebody.
Yeah. So.
And that sucks.
Yeah, it does. I
right.
agree.
That's
Just from a gun handler's position, I think anyone who's holding the gun when it goes off had a responsibility to check the gun.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to get in the mindset of, but this was a movie, so different rules apply.
But no, I just want to. I mean, my point is just like, it's a lot to think. Go through your checklist and like, should you check that there are no live rounds? No. In this case, I think you need to handle the gun properly, and the way he handled the gun was not proper. That's my opinion, but I'll let you.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you very much. Bye. We'll see you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Yep.
All right. We're still waiting for audio to come back from court. Let me jump around to a couple different inputs. Let's see. We're on box. What screen are we looking at? Box 4. So we're going to go to, let's go to.
Yeah, to do it, we have to figure out if
that one. Let's go to this one. And pause this one for just a second. Okay, the jury's going to be coming back in just one moment. Looks like everyone's about to be told to stand up in just a couple seconds. Well, they're standing in one of my feeds, just trying to resync everything. For me to sync up the videos, I have to have video that I can observe certain things happening, that I can say, there's a moment in time I can find elsewhere. So, okay, they stand. There we go. There's going to be a gentleman who walks from left to right behind Mr. Baldwin. When that happens, that was Mr. Spiral. Okay. There we go.
cross Alessandro Pieta. Will you raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will.
All right. Have a seat. Talk into the microphone.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Alessandro Pieta. I come from Italy. I am a gun manufacturer.
He's the gun maker.
Actually, the guy that made the gun that been used in the movie.
Thank you.
Oh, he just gave his whole testimony with his open.
Sorry.
I appreciate all the
Sorry
information, but I have to ask you a question and then you
my
answer the question.
Sorry.
All right, so you've told us you're a gun manufacturer,
Yes,
is that
I
right? And what company do you own?
It's named Fab Fratelli Pieta.
Okay. And do you manufacture Pieta firearms?
Yes, that's the name of the company in English.
How long have you been manufacturing firearms?
The company has been founded in 1963 from our dad, and my brother and myself are running the company since 2000.
And are you familiar with how Pieta firearms are actually made?
Yes, of course.
And how are you familiar?
I've been working in the company since 1995, and I've been taught by my dad how to produce a gun, and assist my brother studying engineering demo.
Does Pieta Firearms have quality control measures and inspections of their firearms?
Yes, we do.
And what are those?
We start from raw material, and then we check all the machining part, and then we got our quality control on the assembly department, and of course before shipping the gun to the customer. So we got several steps in our procedure line.
And does Pieta Firearms use, what kind of manufacturing technology does Pieta Firearms use?
Well, we've been involved a lot in the Industrial 4.0. That means that we are using the most actual manufacturing technology available on the market.
So you're basically high-tech technology?
Yeah, we use CNC machine for control of robotic system. It's not just by hand, but also use the modern technology.
Okay. So, excuse me, what does Pieta Firearms do to ensure that a gun that leaves Pieta Firearms doesn't have any defects? And Mr. Pieta, if I can just have you pull the microphone a little closer and then speak a little slower.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you could just speak a little slower, please.
Sure. We do have our quality control operation, but being an Italian manufacturer, by law, we had to send the gun to a national proof house. It's not a private company, but it's a public company. And all the guns that we produce, all the guns that are imported or made in Italy, need to be tested by this proof house. They have their own standard quality controls, and they also give us a certificate, and they stamp on the gun their marks. So there are different systems that we use to check the guns.
What is a proof house?
A proof house is a public company that shoot the gun, test the gun, take certain dimension. We have CIP homologations that is different from the American. It's called SANI, but they're very similar on the concept. We have certain dimension and they be checked in order to be sure that the gun works properly. They also shoot the gun higher pressure, so they know that the gun will not blow up during our regular training section. And of course, they check all the safeties on the guns.
So, before the gun leaves your company, Pieta Firearms, do you guys do checks of the guns first?
We do our own final check for quality reports. That means that we also looking for aesthetical defects, and of course we do our own quality on the trigger pull or on the action to be sure that everything in proper situation.
And so in addition to that, then it goes to the proof house and they do their checks as well?
The proof house check the gun as a piece of steel, if you pass that name. I check the gun for the customer because they want to get a nice gun, so without any scratches or without any cosmetical defects.
Does that also involve checking the internal parts of the gun to make sure that there are no defects?
That done before by our quality control office, and we do that in the company.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 50.
If you're messing with the counter count, we're going to time you out. This is a sacred area. It's sacrosanct.
Your Honor, being that there is no objection, I would move into evidence States Exhibit 50 and ask to have it published.
So he's describing an external testing group.
On the screen in front of you, Mr.
Checks their
Pieta,
firearms
States
for
Exhibit
quality.
50. Do you recognize that?
Yeah,
What
it's
is
one
it?
of our single action revolver. Probably, actually, it's written 45 long Colt. That's the caliber, 7.5 barrel length.
Are you familiar with this
7.5
particular
inch barrel.
gun?
I know this gun because I know that gun has been produced for a trade show called SHOT Show, and has been shipped to Vegas, in particular for that show.
Were you involved in the manufacture of this particular gun?
I was personally involved producing this sample for that trade show.
And do you recall when this gun was manufactured?
I guess 2016 or 2017.
How do you manufacture this particular firearm?
Well, I would not say manufacturer. I could say I prepare this gun because being a replica, we need to make our customer happy, and of course our main customers are collectors. So when we prepare a new sample or a new model, we study the books, so we study the American history, and we look for details just to make a new model. That's why I've been involved to introduce this gun during this trade show.
So you said this was a single action revolver.
This is a single action type revolver. It means that every time you want to shoot, you need to pull the hammer, cock the hammer, and pull the trigger.
Is that what a single action means?
Yes.
So you have to cock the hammer before you pull the trigger?
Yes.
See, my colors are way off, guys. I'm trying to fix them. It's not my health.
Is this different from other Pieta single action revolvers?
It's different on outside because the details are different. We are not used to make any marks on the grip, or we are not used to write the caliber on the trigger guard. But this is basically is the same gun with a different configuration.
So are the internal components of this gun the same as for others,
Yes,
Pieta?
Correct.
Are the internal components of this particular gun, are they interchangeable with other Pieta single action revolvers?
Yes, they do.
Worse.
Now, is the hammer to this Exhibit 50 that we see in front of us, is that different from other Pieta revolver hammers?
As the sides of the hammer and being polished just to create a different color.
Okay. But is it similar as far as specifications?
It's the same.
It's the same to other firearms? I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence as States Exhibit 6. If I can have the deputy bring it up and
Does that look
ask
better?
you to put on some gloves.
Sure.
So you can.
Yeah.
Just leave it violet.
Oh, no, I don't.
He has it.
Oh,
right.
good, thank you.
Scissors, gloves. This won't hurt a bit. It'll be over before you know it.
If you can open the box, Mr. Pieta.
Ah,
Do
me
you
baby.
recognize what's in there?
Yeah, it seems to be the same gun that's on the screen.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 51.
No objection.
I move into evidence 51, Your Honor, with no objection.
Page 51 is admitted. You may publish.
Now, if you can take a look at that firearm, Exhibit 6 that's in front of you, does it have a serial number?
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to put on the screen States Exhibit 51.
He's going to take it out. He's going to cut the
Do you
bands.
recognize that?
Yeah, that's our invoice that probably has been used to ship the gun to EMF.
Does this invoice contain or list this particular gun that's in front of you, Exhibit 6?
Can I check the serial number?
Yes, please.
Can I touch the gun?
Yes, with your gloves.
Yeah, it's the same serial number.
Okay. So did Pieta Firearms then ship this gun, Exhibit 6, per this invoice?
Yes, we did.
And when and to whom was it shipped?
It's been shipped to EMF company. That is one of our customer that show with us during SHOT Show. So to get the gun inside United States, we need to get someone can get all the license to import the gun for us. That's why this sample has been shipped to EMF.
Okay. What kind of a company is EMF?
EMF is an importing company, and they sell to distributor, dealers, and to individuals.
Is EMF associated with Pieta Firearms?
Yes, it is.
How?
We, Alberto and myself, own EMF.
So you own EMF?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And so when did you ship this particular firearm that's in front of you to EMF?
It's written on the invoice.
He's like,
27 November 2017.
So that's when it left Italy to go to EMF?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me go back to ask you a question about this hammer. You had said that it's nickel-plated because this was for a particular...
No, it's not nickel-plated, it's just polished.
Oh, polished, I'm sorry. Does that change its functionality?
No.
Okay. Did this particular gun go to the proof house?
Absolutely.
And was it approved by the proof house?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And how can you tell?
Well, there are some marks on the frame that is clearly on the top of the serial number. So you can see then there's also another proof mark on the cylinder. So they're easy to understand that this gun has been proved by the proof house.
And what does that mean to you as a gun manufacturer that's been approved by the proof house?
That we have produced a good gun, follow the CIP regulation, and the gun can be sold to anyone. Without that marks, we cannot sell or produce or export any guns.
Now, once it comes to the United States, do you know if your guns or these guns that you import are also subjected to testing by American agencies?
No, actually, all the guns that want to be imported in the United States need to be approved by ATF first. So when we start producing this single action revolver, we send a sample or few samples to ATF agent and they approve the gun for us.
Do you know what ATF does in order to approve the guns?
Mostly they have a schedule with details, so they need to check if our guns, actually a gun, match their requests. And also they got they call drop test that is used to see if the gun is safe enough to avoid any kind of malfunction.
You said a drop test. What do you understand that to be?
Drop test means that the gun has to be approved. They have a safety, and in this particular gun, the safety is on the cylinder. And they put the safety on, they put a primer, not a light brown, of course, a dummy. They put the hammer in the first notch, so the firing pin is lined with the primer, and they take a weight, let it drop at 8 or 4 feet, something like that, 5 times. And the gun, the system should not shoot. If that is okay, they approve the gun.
And so, does your Pieta firearm revolvers get put through that test by ATF?
Absolutely.
And that's to test to make sure it doesn't fire on its own?
No, that test means that we have safety on the gun.
What does the shirt say?
Are you familiar with how this particular gun fires?
What does that mean?
Well, what does it take to
You need to
make
pull,
it shoot?
you need to cock the hammer and pull the trigger.
Do you know this gun that you have in front of you will fire without a pull of the trigger?
Actually, this gun cannot fire because from what I see is missing some parts. So.
Okay, now I'm talking about when it was first.
This one's not going to work.
Does it fire? Would it fire without a pull of the trigger?
No.
Why not?
Because the mechanic, the design of the hammer and the trigger has been designed since Samuel Colt made this gun to work in that way.
Samuel Colt.
And can you explain under what circumstances it will only fire?
Well, when you cock the hammer, the trigger will engage the firing knock position. That is the farthest one, so the last position of the hammer. And if you want to release the hammer, you need to pull the trigger. The trigger is just a sear that locks the hammer in that position. And if you want to do that, you need to pull the trigger.
Okay. Now, is there also a manufacturer's warning about whether or not the firing pin should be sitting on a primer?
Well, actually, it's not just a manufacturer, it's a standard rule between shooters when you carry your gun, in this particular gun, to load just only 5 ammo and not 6.
Why is that?
For safety reason. So you will know that you will not, if eventually the gun falls down, nothing happens.
What could happen if the gun falls down and the primer's...
Most of the time nothing, because the hammer is against the frame, and so if you hit the ground, the primer will not shoot the primer. So it's just a safety rule that I've been taught to every kind of shooter. So I've been a shooter for myself, and that's what they told me to do. So load 5 rounds on the cylinder instead of 6.
And will it fire? Let's say you load 6. Mm-hmm. And what could happen if you load 6?
Nothing really, just you know that you load 6 rounds instead of 5.
Okay, but if you have the firing pin on the 6th round?
If the firing pin is in the rest position when the hammer is down the frame, so the firing pin is not against the primer, nothing happens, because if you want to shoot the primer, you need to apply a certain quantity of force to shoot it. So you can get a thick touch on the primer, but the gun will not shoot.
Okay. If the firing pin is actually on the primer?
Close to.
Okay. But you had said that if the firing pin is on the primer and you drop the gun, what could happen?
Usually, it's based on the primer technology. The powder in the primer is not at the top of the primer, it's just a little in the middle. So you need to press it a little more, and when you reach that point, you can shoot the load under the firing pin.
So what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like the only way you can fire this gun is by pulling the trigger?
That's the way that should be done.
Is there another way to fire this gun?
No.
The prosecution is basically asserting that Mr. Baldwin pulled the trigger because the manufacturer says it cannot be fired without the trigger being pulled.
Let me ask you, what condition was this gun in when you shipped it, when Pieta shipped it to EMF?
As I said before, this gun has been produced for a trade show, so we ship the gun without the firing pin. That is mandatory for this trade show, that all the guns are saved. And doing that, there are inspectors that check all the guns for us and put a tag. So the consumer, the customers, will know that they cannot use the gun to shoot to anybody.
So not having a firing pin in that gun while it was used in trade shows, does that alter it or change it in any way?
Well, you are missing one part, that's it.
But does it change any internal components of it?
No.
Now, did Pieta Firearms own EMF while during the time EMF owned this gun?
Yeah.
To your knowledge, did EMF do anything to this gun?
No.
This prosecutor and the witness are a good match. They go well together. Very, very calm. I don't feel like it's adversarial, like they're trying to extract evidence from them. He came all the way over from Italy?
Just a couple more questions, Mr. Pieta. When Pieta Firearms shipped this to the United States, to EMF, did it send the firing pins with it?
I don't remember, really. Sorry.
How hard is it to install a firing pin?
Pretty easy. It's just a pin and that's it.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, but the other lawyers will.
Thank you.
Aha, look us up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pieta.
Good afternoon.
Just have a couple of questions for you. We'll be out of here quickly. We heard you say that you personally made this gun. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it was shipped from your company, Pieta, in 2017?
Yeah, that's what is written on the invoice.
Between 2017 and October 21, 2021, you don't know how this gun was handled by any particular individuals. Is that correct?
No, I have no idea.
Your knowledge of the gun's functionality was limited to November of 2017 when it was shipped from your company. Is that fair?
That's not correct, because my knowledge about this gun was also during this trade show that's been held in January. So probably the last time I saw the gun was in January.
So roughly beginning of 2018. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And so you don't know what condition the gun was in on October 21st, 2021 when it was being used on the rust set by Mr. Baldwin. Is that correct?
Correct.
And before the gun was sent to the FBI for testing in 2022, you were not asked to inspect the gun. Is that right?
Correct.
And in fact, the Santa Fe sheriff didn't ask you any questions about the gun at that time.
No.
Isn't that right?
Correct.
Or at any time?
I never see anyone, except today.
Even though you personally made it. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
And so the first time that you had seen the gun since about early 2018 was about 2 months ago. Isn't that right?
I saw the picture of the gun during a preview interview that we got on Zoom, in a Zoom meeting.
Someone held up a picture of the gun on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, this picture probably.
And that was the first time since 2017 you had seen the gun. Yes.
Well, of course, I got this picture on my computer, but I never recalled that was the one that was sent to everybody else.
And at that point, the gun was already broken. Correct, sir?
It's the first time I see the gun. I may say yes.
Great. Thank you. No further questions.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you so much.
Nice belt buckle. Levi's suit coat. I like the style. I like the style. Mr. Pieta, thanks for coming on in.
Who's your next witness?
Your Honor, the state calls Justin Neal.
All right.
I know she's at the hospital, that's all. I'm just going to...
Justin Neal.
Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Have a seat, talk into the microphone.
Did they take the gun?
Yes.
Okay, I need it.
Why did you take
May I
our
proceed, Your
evidence?
Honor? Good afternoon, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yeah, my name's Justin Neal.
And, sir, how are you employed?
I own my own marketing firm.
And what kind of work do you do? What kind of marketing work?
My marketing firm is a very stereotypical ad agency, and we have another leg to our company where we recruit and manage sales reps for our clients.
What kind of clients do you have?
Primarily outdoors.
And are you affiliated with Pieta Firearms?
Yes.
You're
How?
so nervous.
Pieta's a little bit more robust than the other clients I have. I essentially handle North America for them as it pertains to sales and marketing. And I also handle EMF, which they are part of, as their sales and marketing person.
What is EMF?
Early Modern Firearms is an importer, and it's based out of Santa Ana, California. They have been in business for 65 plus years, and very much back in the day, they used to supply a lot of firearms, Pieta and otherwise, to Hollywood.
Who owns EMF at this time?
Alessandro and Alberto Pieta.
And how long have they owned EMF?
I believe 2017.
And what exactly is it that you do for EMF?
I handle, again, the sales of the guns that they have of Pietas. EMF only imports and distributes meaning sells to retailers, Pieta firearms. So I handle the sales of Pieta firearms through EMF through distribution.
Are you required to have a federal firearms license?
I am.
And why is that?
I am an RP on the FFL for EMF. There has to be two responsible
RP on
parties.
the FFL for EMF.
And the Pieta family or the Pietas entrusted in me to be one of the RPs on that FFL.
And RP is what?
Responsible party.
And what does the responsible party do?
The responsible party is responsible for the distribution, the importing of the firearms, and all the paperwork thereof.
So as the responsible party for EMF, are you also required to be aware of what transactions take place, what firearms are sold by EMF?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how EMF maintains its records of sales?
Yes.
In September of 2021, do you recall a transaction between EMF and a company called PDQ Arms and Prop?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recall that?
I recall that because I saw the actual sales record or the shipping invoice and the packing slip.
I'm going to show you, well, let me ask you this. How did PDQ contact you, or how is it that you guys learned that PDQ needed to purchase arms?
Yeah, they contacted EMF.
Okay. And what was the request for?
The request was for firearms that he saw on the website. EMF obviously has a website, and he wanted some revolvers. And at that time, 2021, was the heart of the pandemic, and Pieta and every manufacturer, gun manufacturer, was back ordered, so we didn't have any. The lady in which he talked to initially said, we do have display guns that we show at trade shows. And so we didn't offer, we said we had those guns.
Okay. Let me show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 52.
Mm-hmm.
No objection.
Your Honor, the state would move into evidence 52.
States 52 is admitted and may publish.
I'm going to show you, well, before you is States Exhibit 52. Do you recognize that?
I recognize it, yes.
What is it?
It is a Pieta single action revolver.
And how do you recognize that is a Pieta single action revolver?
Because that was a display gun that we had at some of the trade shows in which I attended and I monitored.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as States Exhibit 6 and ask you to put on some gloves and take a look at that gun.
Okay.
Glove up. Oh man, those gloves are not gonna. Ooh, they're tight. They're tight. Do you have a larger? These feel like smalls. Maybe blow in them first. gonna rip. It's gonna rip. Wow. That was close.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit 6?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the same gun that's shown on screen, the Pieta single action revolver.
So it's the same gun as depicted on 52? State's Exhibit 52?
Yes.
And
his gloves are still.
Tell me,
so
was this
tight.
one of the guns that was sold to PDQ?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's. Keep that in front of you because I may ask you some additional questions. If you can just close the box, but I will ask you some additional questions. Let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53.
No objection.
We'd move into evidence State's
Still
Exhibit
trying to
53.
get the fingers
State
down on the
53 is
gloves.
admitted.
Mr. Neal, do you recognize what's in front of you as State's Exhibit 53?
Yes.
What is it?
It is a shipping report, and that is shipping invoice.
From whom to whom?
From EMF to PDQ.
And when was that?
It was in 21, order date 9/29/21.
So on September 29, 2021, were these firearms that are listed on this invoice shipped to PDQ?
Yes.
And is Exhibit 6 that's in front of you one of those firearms that's on this invoice?
Yes.
Which one is it? You can actually touch the screen and it'll mark.
Oh, well, okay. I'd have to see the serial number.
Okay, so if you want to look at the serial number of the gun in Exhibit 6. Actually, if you want to open it and you can check the serial number.
It's like I can't feel my hands
Yeah,
anymore.
that's right.
Can I take these off?
Here.
Is it not making a mark? It might be your gloves.
It's the third one. I've got gloves on.
Okay.
It's the third one.
So,
E52277.
this one right here?
Yes.
So, the number 3, the third gun on the invoice is Exhibit 6.
Yes.
Now let me ask you, when did you become affiliated with EMF?
2018.
And do you recall approximately, was it beginning, mid, end of 2018?
And
And when you became affiliated with EMF, did EMF already have Exhibit 6 in its inventory?
yes.
And did this gun, Exhibit 6, remain with EMF from the time that you were with them until September 29, 2021?
Yes.
And what did EMF use Exhibit 6, this particular gun, for?
To display at primarily industry, trade shows, business-to-business shows, B2B shows.
So it was owned by the company the entire time?
Yes.
Did EMF do any work on this gun?
No.
Did EMF inspect it for quality assurance purposes?
Before each show, functionality. It wasn't, they didn't take apart the gun or anything, just to make sure it functioned properly. And then they would put it in what we call a sock, which is basically a soft case.
And when you say functionality, what does that mean?
That the gun works properly, not firing it, never fired, just the 4 traditional click of a Colt firearm, and the trigger worked properly.
And at any point during 2018 to September of 2021, was there any indication that this gun malfunctioned or had any defects?
No.
What condition was it in when it was sold to PDQ on September 29, 2021?
It was in perfect condition as far as I know.
You said that how often was this gun checked for functionality while it was owned by EMF?
We do approximately 5 shows a year, and so at least 5 times.
And you say 5 shows, does that mean, is it in a display case? Or?
It is in a locked glass display case.
So people can't just come and grab it?
They can't grab it, no.
Do you also, well, let me ask you this before we move on to the next topic. When this gun was shipped to PDQ, do you know what it was shipped in?
Yeah, EMF follows standard operating procedures, which they do for any gun shipped, whether it's to a dealer, a big box store, distributor, influencer. It is in Pieta.
Hang on, they ship it to influencers?
And supplies EMF with a very hard styrofoam box that's molded for a single action. And
do they ship to Canada?
Placed in there, then a cover over the top of it that's fit to it, and then another cardboard box sleeve that slides over the top of that, sealed, and then it is put into another shipping box with whatever other guns or accessories the attended person or store requests.
Would that have been the manner in which it would have been shipped to PDQ?
Yes.
Do you also handle customer service calls for Pieta guns in the United States?
I handle quite a bit of the customer service calls, yes. Not all, but a lot.
Approximately how many would you say?
Over the years, since 2018, I probably on average handle 5 or 6 a month.
Okay. Have you ever received a complaint or a call about a Pieta revolver going off by itself?
Never.
Are you familiar with how this particular gun fires?
Am I familiar with how it fires?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Does it fire without a pull of the trigger?
No.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, I'm here, Councilor Froch.
Council Approach. The reason for the approach is because we have questions from the jury, and it's time to go over those to see if they will be asked. We had a glitch during the last 2 questions. We heard the questions, but it was
Mr. Neal, if this particular gun, Exhibit 6, if it had displayed any defects in functionality, would it have still been shown at trade shows?
No.
Why not?
The purpose of Pieta or EMF going to a trade show is to sell firearms to FFL dealers, holders, not the public, but sporting goods stores, if you will. And if a buyer who wanted to specifically see this gun or any other was to hold it under our watchful eye, of course, and it was defective, he would probably not buy that gun or any other gun that we have.
So would it be fair to say you put the best of the best that Pieta has to offer?
Absolutely.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? Does the court want this one?
I think that was possibly the juror's question right there.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
No questions.
No questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're excused, sir. Thank you.
He's taking the
Next
gloves
witness.
with him.
Give me just a minute. We're just a little out of order.
Still got the gloves on. Gloves are part of his life now. He's permanently gloved. Still has them on as he walks out of the courtroom. All right.
Give us just one moment. Sure.
They have. I took the gun away right there. You can't get them off. We're going to need a bailiff and a pry bar. Yes, we do need blue gloves on the thumbnail. Smurf fans. They're struggling. They don't have any witnesses.
Your Honor, give me just a moment. I'm missing my notes.
Okay.
Smirk from Alec Baldwin. She can't find who to call next. We're almost done with the day. But we're not done. We've got a podcast tonight that starts at 8 o'clock, which is in about an hour and 45 minutes. She's searching the courthouse, looking for her gloves or for her notes frantically. Oh, glasses off. Mr. Baldwin takes us up to 221. Might get the magic 222 today.
Found it. The state calls Corporal Alexandria Hancock.
Alexandria Hancock.
Face the judge and raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Have a seat. Talking to the microphone.
Did she bring treats with her?
Just state your name for the record, even though I know it's
Oh, she looks
repetitive.
familiar.
Alexandria Hancock.
And how are you currently employed?
I am a corporal with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department?
It will be 7 years in November.
And how did you become involved with this case?
In 2021, I was a detective with the Sheriff's Office. I was assigned to the Violent Crimes Division. On that day, we had received a call for a shooting at a movie set on the Bonanza Creek Ranch.
And you said you were on duty, and I'm sorry if I didn't hear you. What were you at the time? Were you a corporal?
No, I was a detective.
And did you show up to the scene there at Bonanza Creek Ranch?
Yes.
Do you know approximately what time?
I believe it was between 2:30 and 3 p.m.
And so, can you kind of give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury an idea of what was going on? Were you the only detective on scene? Were there other detectives? What was happening?
Yeah, so when we had originally, it's called a briefing, essentially, back at our office, at the Sheriff's Office, we had a short briefing with all the detectives that were there that day about what had been learned thus far as to what occurred on the ranch. And so after that briefing, the detectives were assigned at that point on who would be handling and who would be assisting. And then from there, the entire team of us went out to the ranch.
So approximately how many people were in the team?
I want to say maybe 5 or 6 of us.
And how does the Sheriff's Department traditionally, is one detective named primary, or are there more than one? How does that work?
Just one is primary, and then typically they will have a secondary just depending on the case.
And how did it work out with this case?
Originally with this case, a different detective, his name's Joel Cano, was assigned the primary detective, and then I was assigned secondary.
And just so that we're clear, at some point did you become primary?
Yes.
And at what point was that?
Probably at least a couple weeks later.
Okay. Now, in that interim, in those 2 weeks, were you actively working on the case?
Yeah, I was assisting with it.
And as the assisting detective, did you conduct interviews with witnesses on October 21st?
Yes, I did.
Who did you interview on that day? And then we'll back up.
Okay. On that day, I interviewed Halyna Gutierrez Reed, David Halls, and Alec Baldwin.
So I want to be clear. You, as the assisting detective, interviewed all 3 of the people that were ultimately criminally charged.
Yes.
So if you were interviewing all of those, what I'm going to call sort of main players, what was the primary Detective Cano doing?
What was the boss doing?
He was, on the day of the incident, he was interviewing the numerous people that needed to be interviewed back at the ranch.
And give us an idea of who those folks were.
That Detective Cano interviewed?
Mm-hmm.
They were people that were said to be inside the church at the time of the incident, or members that assisted with the armor.
Why was it necessary to have 2 detectives doing interviews at the same time?
Because of how many people were involved.
Okay. And have you continued to be the primary investigator with the Sheriff's Department on this case since 2 weeks after the incident?
Yes.
Now, when you were dispatched, well, it sounds like you weren't really dispatched, were you?
No.
Who called you in?
My lieutenant at the time, which was Mike Martinez.
And you indicated that you had a briefing.
Yes.
And tell us kind of what information you got at the briefing that you had before you went out to the scene.
Yeah, so during our briefing there at the office, we were told that there was a movie being filmed at Bonanza Creek Ranch, and then sometime during that day, shortly before we were called in for that briefing, that 2 people had been shot on the set.
Did you receive information that the shooting had been characterized as an accident?
I do recall reading that on our CAD.
And as a detective with the Sheriff's Department, when you get called to a shooting that's being characterized as an accident, does that mean to you that there will be no criminal charges?
No.
Have you been dispatched or involved in accident investigations in the past that turned into criminal cases?
Yes.
So I just want to be clear. I know that the jury's heard some of this. So you interviewed Halyna Gutierrez, correct?
That's correct.
And what role did she have on the set?
She was the armorer, the main armorer on Rust.
And you also indicated that you interviewed someone named David Halls, is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall what his role was on the set?
He was the assistant director.
And then, of course, you interviewed Mr. Baldwin, and we understand that he's an actor, correct?
Correct.
I want to just take you back for a moment. During opening, did you hear the defense attorney say that Sarah Zachary was not interviewed on October 21st?
I did hear that.
Is that correct?
No.
Was Sarah Zachary actually interviewed on October 21st?
She was.
Who interviewed her?
Detective Joel Cano with the assistance of Detective Ray Arndt.
And who was Sarah Zachary?
She was the props master for Rust.
If you would try to explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the relationship between the prop master and the armorer based on your understanding.
What I understood between the prop master and the armorer, as it pertains to Rust, is that they're technically two different departments. They have different functions, different roles, do different things. But in the case of Rust, the prop master and the armorer assisted each other because of how what they would describe to be prop heavy this movie was.
And did you get an understanding of when we say prop, exactly what we're talking about?
Yes.
So one of these gun holsters, would that be a prop?
Yes.
Would the guns themselves be props?
Yes.
Even the live gun, the real guns, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's correct.
And the ammunition, would that be considered a prop?
Yes.
Okay. And does that also include glasses and cups and plates and silverware?
Yeah, anything that an actor would use in a scene, excluding like wardrobe items.
Okay. And I understand that you indicated that Ms. Zachary was interviewed on the 21st of October by Detective Cano. Did you also conduct a follow-up interview with Sarah Zachary at a later date?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall approximately when that was?
I believe it was sometime in November.
So just the following month?
Yes.
And you testified that you conducted an interview with Halyna Gutierrez on October 21st. Did you also conduct a follow-up interview with her at a later date?
Yes, I did.
And approximately when was that, if you recall?
I want to say that was in November as well.
Thank you, Melissa. Best 8 months ever. Congratulations.
You interviewed Mr. Baldwin on the 21st, correct?
Yes.
And did you have subsequent contact with Mr. Baldwin after the interview that you did on October 21st?
Yes, I did.
And how were you having contact with him? Was he in New Mexico, or how was that happening?
No, he wasn't in New Mexico at that point, but I would receive phone calls and sometimes text messages.
From Mr. Baldwin?
Yes.
Generally speaking, was it Mr. Baldwin reaching out to you or you reaching out to him?
It was him reaching out to me.
So he had your cell phone number?
Yes, my department cell.
And just to be clear, do the defense attorneys also have your contact information?
They do.
Have they sent you text messages?
I don't know exactly her title, but members from their team, yes.
Okay, so they actually have your cell phone number?
Yes.
And you've made yourself available to them?
That's correct.
And you do that whether I'm there or not, right?
Yes.
With regard to your November interview with Ms. Gutierrez, did you have a conversation with Ms. Gutierrez about who loaded the gun?
I did.
And what did Ms. Gutierrez say?
That she loaded the gun herself.
And did you have a conversation with Ms. Gutierrez concerning the box of ammunition that was holding that one suspected live round?
I did.
And what did Ms. Gutierrez say?
That it would be a box that she would have provided.
Objection, hearsay, unless this is information acted upon.
So my response, unless you want us to approach, is that these are statements against interest and they come in under that exception.
Who made the statements?
I don't believe that they are, but like I said, if it's information acted upon and we can cross on it, it's fine.
All right, go ahead.
Did you have conversations? Well, let me ask you. Ms. Gutierrez indicated that she brought that box of ammunition on the set. Is that right?
That it was similar to one that she would have provided.
During that interview, did she produce a photograph for you?
She did.
And the photograph that she produced, did she tell you where she got it?
I don't know if she said in that interview exactly where she got it, but she did describe it to be a box like that was in the photo would be what she provided.
And the photograph that she showed you during the interview, did it match exactly the label on the box that contained the live ammunition?
Yes.
As you sit here today, do you have any question about who introduced the live ammunition to the set of Rust?
No.
Who do you believe it was based on your investigation?
Hannah.
Did you have conversations with Ms. Gutierrez about her firearms training?
The one that she conducted?
Yes,
or her own experience?
No.
Objection, hearsay.
I think we should approach.
While they approach, now's a good time to point out that Sherry,
Come on, up.
Sherry B just gifted 10 memberships. Wow. I don't think we have anyone to give it to. I'm not seeing anyone receive them. I think everyone's... Does everyone have their setting turned on? If one person types !GIFTS in chat, there you go. Thank you, Red Pen. You got that already. Hannah's already been prosecuted, Bob, and she's been convicted. She's serving time. She's serving 18 months. So you go to this website, make sure the gift settings are turned on. There might not be anyone to receive the gifts, which is just, it's really funny. They're in people in gray, but they have to have their settings turned on. So, or maybe YouTube is just acting up. Did anyone receive a gift and just we didn't get notified? I'm not seeing anyone on this side. YouTube's just YouTubing again. They'll show up later. We're going to give some gifts out tonight on the podcast in a little bit of time here. I don't know why they're not showing up. Let me refresh this, see if it works here. No, YouTube is broken.
You conducted an interview with Mr. Baldwin, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you learn during that interview
You're green, Jill.
whether or not Mr. Baldwin received any training regarding the use of these firearms?
Yeah, he had mentioned that he did a training session shortly after with, he said Hannah, which was the armorer, and then I believe he said Sarah and their assistant Nicole was there.
Okay. And did you interview Seth Kinney?
Yes, several times.
How many times do you think you talked to him?
I don't know if I could. I'm not sure I could put a number on it. I don't know. Probably at least between 5 and 10.
Okay. And was Mr. Kinney cooperative with you?
Yes.
Did you request any search warrants in this case?
Yes.
What search warrants were requested?
I had drafted the search warrant for the prop truck as well as the search warrant for PDQ.
And PDQ, is that Mr. Kinney's business?
Yes.
Let me ask you, have you ever worked on a movie set before?
No.
And have you ever investigated a crime on a movie set before?
No.
On October 21st, 2021, did you know what a prop truck was?
No.
At some point through your investigation, did you learn what a prop truck was?
Yes.
And what's a prop truck?
It was an area that was used for storage.
Storage of?
This particular prop truck?
Yeah.
It was actually multiple departments that were using it. I don't know exactly which ones, but the armorer and the props department had approximately half of the back of the truck.
And I think we heard previous testimony from Ms. Popple that the search of the prop truck didn't happen until the 27th of October, I think?
Yes.
Is that right? What was the delay?
Well, I was not the case agent at that time, and so I really wasn't the one in charge of the investigation. And so what happens with your case agent is they kind of develop the flow and decide what's needed based on the information that they have and what we need to get.
What was one of the first things that you did when you became the primary on this case?
Started reviewing a lot of information.
How long after you became primary did you request a warrant for the prop truck?
Well, I wasn't the primary at the time that I requested that warrant. I was assisting.
Okay.
And so, I mean, between the day that the incident occurred, which was the 21st, and then the day that the search warrant was, I think, applied and executed for was the 27th, so 6 days.
And was the prop truck secured during that time?
Through my interviews, I found out that it was secured.
And how was it secured?
So the set, one of the individuals that worked on the set of Rust.
Objection, you're set. You're distracted. She knew it at the time.
This is information that she learned during her investigation.
But it's hearsay.
Afterwards, it has nothing to do with.
Ask her did you get that date? Time?
In terms of when she learned?
Yes.
When did you learn? Let me ask you this. When you showed up on the 27th of October,
look at Spyro. He's not liking
did anyone meet you at the prop truck?
Yes, and then we also had deputies that went out there at least a couple days before we had drafted that search warrant to secure the truck with 24-hour surveillance.
So when you went to the prop truck on the 27th, did someone have to meet you there to open it?
Yes.
Who had to meet you there to open it?
Her name was Ro Walters.
Okay. So on that day, did you understand that it was locked?
Yeah, inaccessible.
Okay. Because she had to open it for you.
Correct.
And other than props, generally, tell us what other things were stored inside that truck.
There was a firearm safe with firearms in it. There were firearms outside of that safe. I think there were like a bunch of chairs in it and maybe some like shade tents and stuff like that. There was quite a bit of stuff.
After you were let into the prop truck and it was unlocked for you, describe for us the safe. How big is it?
Maybe about 4 feet tall and maybe about a foot wide.
And did someone have to come and unlock that safe for you?
Yes.
Who was that?
Seth Kenny.
And when you executed the warrant on the prop truck, as it relates to this case, just summarize for us what you found. I mean, we don't care about tables and chairs and stuff.
Additional firearms, more ammunition. I think that was kind of the major things that we got off of it.
And are you familiar with the ammunition that was provided to the set of Rust by Seth Kenny?
Yes.
Where was that ammunition found?
Inside of the prop truck in a bag.
And when you say in a bag, was it inside something else?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
Whoa.
Was it just loose in a bag?
Well, it was inside of a box that was inside a duffel bag type thing.
Okay. And is it also, did you locate a black gun belt?
I don't think I was the one that located that.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Alec Baldwin had his glasses off. We counted that, right?
And we understand that you also executed a search warrant on PDQ, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was on November 30th, I think we heard?
Yes.
So prior to executing that search warrant, had Seth Kenny talked to you about live rounds?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you recall, did Seth Kenny at some point bring live rounds to you?
He did.
Do you know whether that was before you searched PDQ?
It was before.
So you knew before you searched PDQ that he had live rounds because he took them and told you?
Yes.
Did you receive information prior to the search at PDQ regarding a green ammo can?
I did.
Who did you receive that information from?
From Thel Reed, which was Hannah's father.
In part, was it based on the information from Hannah's father that you executed the search warrant on PDQ?
Yeah, the information I learned from him was some of what I used.
And just to be clear, I want to be clear, the reason that you went and searched PDQ, one of the reasons is because Mr. Reed said Seth Kenny's got live ammunition, right?
Yeah, he did say that. He actually said that he was the one that picked up that live ammunition.
Who was?
Thel.
Thel picked it up?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Corporal, did it occur to you that Thel Reed may be giving you inaccurate information to protect his daughter?
Objection.
What?
I mean, unless we're going to be able to ask witnesses. Never.
Continue.
I'm just asking you, I'm not asking about anybody else. Did it occur to you when you took the information from Mr. Reed and got the search warrant, did you know who to believe at that point in time?
No.
Okay. And I want to be clear, did Mr. Reed, and this is just why you did what you did, did Mr. Reed indicate to you that the ammunition at PDQ he thought was the same ammunition on the set of Rust?
Yes.
Did that turn out to be true?
No.
Even though, well, let me ask you this, the live ammunition that was collected from PDQ, did it just visibly look dissimilar to the live ammunition from Rust?
Yes.
Even though it looked dissimilar, did you send it to the FBI for testing anyway?
We did.
Did you ever discover any evidence throughout your entire investigation that Seth Kinney supplied live rounds to the set of Rust?
No.
Did you ever discover any evidence that Seth Kinney was present on the set of Rust until you met him at the prop truck?
No.
During your investigation, did you ever discover any evidence that Mr. Kinney modified or altered the gun that was provided to Mr. Baldwin?
No.
Did you ever discover any evidence that Ms. Gutierrez modified or altered the gun that was provided to Mr. Baldwin?
No.
Did you ever formally arrest Ms. Gutierrez?
No.
Does that have anything to do with whether or not she was ultimately convicted of a crime?
No.
Did you ever arrest Dave Halls?
No.
Do you know whether or not he was convicted of a crime at some point?
Yes, he was.
And the fact that you arrested him or didn't arrest him, did that have anything to do with it?
No.
Does as a law enforcement officer, do you always arrest people who then later are criminally charged?
Sorry, you mean like arrest them right away? And
do they have to be arrested in order to be criminally charged?
No.
Why would you not arrest someone?
To develop the investigation, if we're still waiting or investigating facts, trying to find information, and to get potential suspects or witnesses, whoever is involved, to cooperate with law enforcement.
Who makes the final charging decision in a criminal case?
The district attorney's office, essentially.
The prosecutor does, right?
Yes.
You guys don't. The law enforcement officers don't, correct?
Right.
Now, in addition to searching the prop truck and searching PDQ, did you also ask to search cell phones?
I did.
And whose cell phones did you search or ask to be searched?
I requested searches of Alec Baldwin's cell phone, Hannah Gutierrez's, David Hall's, and Sarah Zachary.
We've now doubled
Did you review
our spectrometer
all
from
of
yesterday.
those cell phone extractions?
We've had more
I did.
spectrometer counts than yesterday.
And when you review the cell phone extraction, what do you get to see? Do you get to see text messages?
I do.
Do you get to see photographs?
Yes.
When you reviewed the photographs from Ms. Gutierrez's cell phone, did you notice anything that stood out to you?
I did.
What was that?
There was a photograph taken, I believe it was maybe end of November, that she was, there was two bullets, 2 rounds, and I believe her hand,
And it caused a little bit of concern. And then I think I actually had found a couple photos of it, and one of the bullets in that photograph was circled, kind of how you can edit a picture, and it said, I believe it was dud on top of it.
That bullet that was circled that said dud on it, was it a Starline brass casing?
It was.
Did it have a nickel primer?
Yes. Well, silver.
Silver, nickel.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in terms of the color.
Yes.
And in terms of the projectile shape, did it match the live rounds from the set of rest?
It did.
All right, counsel, we're going to stop for the day.
There it is.
Jury, I want you to, instead of 8:30, I want you to be here at 9:30 downstairs. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court.
That's the jury.
Thank you.
We still might have some things to do before the jury gets here tomorrow, so we start at the same time. Right, so we just barely surpassed the count from yesterday. We had 119 on our spectrometer at the end of the day yesterday. We're up to 241 now. Might get a couple more.
While I'm taking a break, I want you all to get your exhibits ready over to here. Please, everything. Okay. Lock up for the day. I'll be back at 10. Okay? Okay, please.
She's ordered them to get their exhibits ready. Sherry B is trying to gift memberships. They just are not going through, and I don't know why. We reached out to YouTube to see what the problem is. It does seem to be on their side. I mean, it's they're if you first, let's say this: if you received a gift membership, please let us know. Like if you're notified on your end that you just received a gift membership, please let us know, because we're not seeing it. Normally we see recipients. This is proof that YouTube hates me. Nobody, I've seen them come in later. It's happened. I don't know. Melissa B, thank you very much. Appreciate that. They might it's not going through. I've reached out to Team YouTube on Twitter, seeing if they can see what the problem is. They definitely were working yesterday. We had a ton of gifted memberships yesterday. I need them to work tonight because we have the podcast tonight, and we give out gifted memberships for the podcast. So what podcast you say? Well, the podcast, we've actually built a portal so you can go over there and be notified right when it jumps. So as soon as as soon as our live stream stops here, you'll get a little pop-up notification to click the link to jump into the portal. The portal will carry you right to the podcast, and you'll be able to join us at the podcast there. So, podcast starts at 8 o'clock. We are now done with court for today. The podcast is a lot of fun. We call it the Not Relevant Podcast because we don't really rehash everything that happened in court. Sometimes we'll talk about it. It is 8 o'clock Eastern. You're correct, Red Pen. We don't talk about a lot that happens in court. Sometimes we'll mention it, but usually we talk about things that are not relevant. And we usually talk about lotteries. We usually talk about food. Food always seems to come up on the menu or on our discussion. See, I'm thinking of food right now. And then, of course, we've got whatever the chat seems to bring, and there's always going to be some good stuff there. So today, just a quick recap on what we saw in the Alec Baldwin trial today. We didn't have many witnesses. We started with Marissa Popple. She was our crime scene tech that was on the stand yesterday. We started with the cross-examination of her. It got spicy, especially on the objections. There were times where we made like 10 minutes of progress and 1 hour of sidebars because of the spiciness. It was quite intense there. She was the first one. After her was Mr. Pieta. He was the firearm maker, the guy who made the gun that was in Alec Baldwin's hand when it discharged. Man, I love this. I love that. That's the next live view I need, the one he's got on his back right there. Unfortunately, it's $30,000. Anyway, it's a nice live view. So the Mr. Pieta came next. He was a great witness. Really nice. I liked him a lot. Calm. Didn't really have a dog in the fight. Basically said, we make the best guns, and this gun was perfect when we shipped it here. After that, we had Justin Neal. Justin Neal was the U.S. counterpart for Pieta Firearms, where that gun was shipped in, and it was used for a trade show. And by a trade show, they're putting on shows where retailers go, like an outdoor retailer show, and they go and look at products, and they're able to view things and say, yeah, I'd like to order these for Big Five or whatever store they have. They would order a bunch of things for their store. It could be Walmart. This is, I want to order these, I want to order those. And so they have samples, and one of the sample was this gun. They kept it in a case, but if somebody wanted to see it, obviously you could open it up and look at it and see that it was the finest quality and craftsmanship. Because it was going to be the showpiece for making a decision, it had to be perfect. It had to be excellent. It had to be the best material. And the only thing that was different about it when it was a showpiece was that there was no firing pin in it. So the firing pin was removed. And when the movie, when PDQ Props called and said, hey, we'd like to buy a gun for a movie, it was during the pandemic where everything was shut down. There were shortages all over the place, and they didn't have any. And they scoured everything and said, actually, we've got a gun that's been used for this. We can sell you the gun that we've been having on display. It's a display model. Hopefully they got like a 10% discount. All we need to do is just put a firing pin in. We'll drop a firing pin in. It's good to go. And they did that and sold them that gun. So this top-of-the-line display model ended up in the hands of PDQ, which was then brought to the scene of the shoot, meaning Bonanza Ranch. And it was the gun that Alec Baldwin chose to use with his character. So he testified, Justin Neal testified about that, and then last we had Alexandria Hancock, who is a corporal in Santa Fe Police Department. She's still going to be on the stand, I believe, when we finish here, when we start tomorrow. Who put the firing pin in? It could have been just about anybody. Honestly, this gun designed by Samuel Colt, the original model was designed by Samuel Colt. He built a really nice gun, and it's fairly simple on the action inside. It's not a lot of work. Somebody with a flat blade screwdriver can do it in a couple minutes. It's pretty simple. But that brings us to the end of day today. We have exactly 1 hour and 5 minutes before. It's a super easy job. We have 1 hour and 5 minutes before the podcast. We have a portal set up that'll take you over there. I don't think anybody is there yet because it's unlisted. Let me check. Let me make sure it's unlisted. Let's see. Yep, I don't know if even Kim R can find this one. No one is there yet. So the portal will be the first indication that it's good to go. Once the portal transports you there, I'll open up the listing. But if you'd like to be first in chat, now's your chance. Take the portal the second it happens. Here's what you need to do. Right now, click the live button on your broadcast. Make sure you're live. Some of you might be 10 seconds behind. Some of you might be a minute behind. You want to be right up to the minute so that you're the first one to notify when we end, because then you'll get the notice to jump to the next one. So we'll do that, and we'll start playing the music, which gives us just a couple minutes before we wrap. So the first person in chat wins the internet. As always, it's going to be a lot of fun tonight over on the podcast. I hope you join us. Thomas and I are looking forward to you being there and participating as well. All right. Hopefully we get YouTube figured out so these gifted memberships come through, because Sherry Beats tried to gift 20, and hopefully you guys receive those. So we'll see. I'll keep reaching out to see if they have anything. They said anything? I don't see anything from YouTube yet. Yeah, nothing yet. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we go live again tonight. In about 1 hour, we'll be live on the Not Relevant podcast. Please join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. When you do land over there, make sure you click the like button. That's how you reserve your space, is by clicking the like button. So we don't want anyone to feel left out there. On that note, we are done with the Alec Baldwin trial today. We are going to continue again tomorrow morning. So if you don't join us,
I saw a chicken fight.
Okay. If you don't join us for the podcast, then you can watch the podcast on replay and join us again in the morning. I think we're starting again at 9:30 Eastern time to continue this trial. Probably some court work to be done tomorrow morning before the jury comes in. I think that's it. So let's all pray for YouTube and hope it gets fixed. You guys be good to each other. We'll see you on the podcast in just a few minutes. Have a good one. Bye.
The zombie apocalypse may be upon us.